Good evening, everyone. We're going to call to order the Tangi Parish School Board meeting for July 21st, 2026, 6 o'clock p.m. Miss Amanda, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Anthony?
Here.
Westmoreland?
Present.
Miss Abrams?
Here.
Miss Dominguez?
Present.
Mr. Duncan? Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Piazza?
Here.
Miss Richards?
She's in the back. She's here.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
All right. We can do item B, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Mr. Piazza, can you lead us?
Yes, sir. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to opening items. Item A is consider approval of the Tangi Parish School Board meeting minutes for June 16th, 2026.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Piazza,
Second.
second by Ms. Dominguez. Do we have any opposition to this motion? All right, hearing no opposition, motion carries. Item B is consider approval of the Tangi Parish School Capital Outlay Committee meeting minutes for June 16th, 2026.
Motion to adopt.
Got a motion to adopt by Mr. Westmoreland and a second by Mr. Toller. Any opposition to this motion? All right, hearing no opposition, item B carries as well. Let's see. We have item C, consider approval of the Tangi Parish Superintendent Search Process Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for June 16th, 2026.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Piazza
Second.
and a second by Ms. Abrams. Is there any opposition to this motion? All right, hearing no opposition, motion carries. All right, we'll move to item 3, academic update. And item A is early childhood data for 2025-2026. Ms. Brabham is going to present to us.
Good evening. Good to see everyone. I'm happy to be here this afternoon. I am here to talk to you about our assessment data for early childhood education. And remember, early childhood education is from birth to 5 years old. So my world is birth to pre-K because our babies turn 5. And our whole goal is to get them ready for kindergarten. And I'm happy to show you this data tonight. So if Miss Amanda would go. This is Dr. Pacel's. Mine's Ready Start. It's with the little people on the PowerPoint. I do the colors just for Mr. Piazza. He likes the colors.
I thought you meant because of little people.
I see what she tried to do there, and that was it. That was right.
We did not set that up.
You got it.
I'm
You
sorry.
got it.
I'm sorry.
Nobody's safe around here.
Dang you.
Okay, so the next slide. So just to refresh your memories, we have 15 public schools. We have 46 early learning centers, formerly known as daycares, but we don't say that anymore. When we started this work, there were only 12. So now we're up to 46. We have 7 Head Start facilities and 3 family child care providers, meaning they bring children into their homes for care. The next slide shows the assessments that we give in each of these areas. So public schools, the state requires TS Gold. It's an online portfolio for children, and that starts for infants. Any publicly funded child has to be assessed using TS Gold. So all of our programs that accept public funds are assessed this way, and that's state required. We also create a district math and ELA assessment for our public school children and for our Tangi Tot centers. And remember, we raise funds for children birth to 3, and we call those our Tangi Tots. So part of the requirement to be a Tangi Tot provider, they have to agree to give these assessments. So that's going to be starting next year. And then we also use Hatch, which is an online intervention system for our pre-K children only. So those are the three things that we do in public school, and everyone does TS Gold. So I'm happy to say this is starting my 25th year next month, and this is I just finished my 10th as an early childhood coordinator. And all 10 years, my goal has been 80% of our pre-K children proficient or better. Every year, 80%. You can ask any pre-K teacher, and she will tell you she wants 80%. And we have tried. We've gone up, we've gone down, we have pushed, we've changed curriculum, and we're so close. This is ELA. 79% of our pre-K children are proficient in ELA at the end of this year. We are so excited about that. See our little colorful pie chart? Yes, purple, blue, greens, those are what we're looking for, okay? The 21%, we look at those children, we get interventions for those children. We have a plan for them going to kindergarten. When they walk in the door, the kindergarten teacher should know where their opportunities for growth are, so that they don't have to say, what do I do with this child? He's below. We can tell you where he's below. So we should start out with a plan for that child. And if you look at the next slide, I arranged our scores by school, okay? So, top to bottom, this is how we go. But there are only 4 of our schools that didn't meet my goal of 80%, okay? And so my coaches, myself, we're going to be meeting. We tier our schools, we tier our teachers. We will be digging deep into this data to see how we can help support next year. I met with Miss Story yesterday. We had a great conversation. We dug into her data to see how we can help support her and get those kiddos ready for kindergarten. The next slide is our math, and this one I'm very, very, very excited about, because not only did we make my 80% goal, we exceeded that. 86% of our pre-K children are proficient in math. Okay? Yes. And hey, that's the work of our teachers. We tell them, we help them, we support them, but if they don't do the work, it doesn't happen. So we work together with them, and they are so good at listening to the next thing that we want them to do. We don't do the next thing. We make what we're already doing better, and we make it student-centered. So that's our focus. And they always roll up their sleeves and give it their best. So I'm very excited that we have such great pre-K teachers, and teachers 1 and 2, we call our paras teacher 2. Because their children do not know that they're a paraprofessional. Their children say, that's my teacher. So kudos to our pre-K teachers 1 and 2. Again, the next slide shows there are only 2 schools that didn't make my 80%, and they're so close. So math is a little bit better, and that's typical because math is more concrete. A 4 is a 4. There are 4 things. You try to teach children English language, and the E can say several different things. So that's where it gets tricky. That's why our math scores are usually better. But we're really excited about these things for our public pre-K. The next slide shows our TS Gold. Remember, this is the state-required program, and we really track language, literacy, and math. Language and literacy are your pre-reading skills. They're not going to be readers in 3rd grade if we don't do our jobs in pre-K. If we don't do our jobs in infancy, they're going to be behind when they hit kindergarten, and they're going to be behind when they hit 3rd grade. So we track these. And again, greens, blues, those are great. This is measured in below expectations, meeting expectations, or exceeding expectations. And as you see, this is public pre-K, 90% at least are better in these areas. So we're thrilled to see these results for our pre-K children as well. The next slide shows our early learning centers, okay? So this is infants, toddlers, they have pre-K as well, 4-year-olds. And as you can see, our goal for them is also 80%. When I have monthly meetings with child care directors, and we tell them 80%, because your goal is to get them ready for kindergarten. And those children are coming to our public schools. So the more work we can do in early learning, the better prepared they're going to be when they hit our pre-Ks. And if they don't go to our pre-Ks, they'll be prepared for our kindergarten if we can do this work in early learning. So language was a little bit low, and if you notice, language is a little bit lower on all of them, and that's the oral language, that's comprehension, communicating, that the students learning to talk, to build their vocabulary. So that's typical on these, but literacy and math, at least 80% or better in early learning. And the next one shows Head Start results. Same thing, language is a little bit lower, but they're hitting their markers in literacy and math as well. The next, so where do we go from here? We have to maintain. I want 80% in ELA next year. Now, math, we've got to maintain. I'm a very competitive person, so, I don't care if we're 86.1 but we need to be 80 in ELA, and we need to be at least 86.1 in math to maintain or get better. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do student-centered coaching and instruction, meaning we look at every child and where his or her needs are, and we develop a plan to get that child kindergarten ready. Small group instruction, that's the only way to do it, because guys, I'm here to tell you, when we used to have faculty meetings back with my partner in crime, Mr. Porter, we went to small group faculty meetings, because guess what? They paid more attention when there was just a few of them rather than a whole group. You can get lost in not paying attention, but when you have a group of 5 people in front of you, you get their attention better. So we are focusing on small group instruction and interventions. Intentionality. We're not doing lessons just because. We're doing lessons because Ms. Rose needs it. We're doing lessons because Mr. Toller needs it, because we've looked at their data and we see that. And then obviously language support. So I'm just picking on you guys. I already picked on Mr. Piazza.
Good call.
And language support, because that's the oral communication that, to be successful, you have to have readers. That's the biggest gift we can give our children in this parish, is a safe environment and to be able to read. And that opens all the doors for them. So that's our summer work. That's our goals those are our goals for 26-27. And we're ready to roll up our sleeves and continue the growth and improvement.
Could you go to that first slide where it has the centers, like how many? I just wanted to say something. So when Ms. Brabham started this position, 10 years ago you said?
This position 10 years ago, yes. Ma'am.
There were just the public school, that's pre-K. You oversaw and managed just pre-K, 4-year-old classes.
The majority. We were just starting the network. We
Yeah.
only had 12 centers, but
Yeah.
we didn't do a lot
I think
with
it was in 2012 when they started
Yes, ma'am.
the early, like birth to 5
Yes, ma'am.
work. But that's a lot of centers and a lot of different places that your team has to be and provide support. So, of course, with 3rd grade, being that milestone that kids are reading proficiently and doing math proficiently by 3rd grade, the work that you and your team are doing in the early years is setting them up ready for kindergarten in a good position, because with they're already proficient. So we just have to keep them there and keep moving them. So very impressive work, and super proud of you and the whole team and all of our teachers out there who are doing this work. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And I did want to say one thing. If you're watching this and you're not an educator, it can get kind of messed up when you see these numbers, and then sometimes with data. These numbers are something that carries forward. And since being on this board, these numbers have done nothing but grow. So thank you to your team for their hard work, because it's not easy, especially with little ones. I have a 4-year-old at home, and I don't think I have the patience enough, so I can only imagine. But thank you to your team, because, again, I watch this data very closely, because I see my daughter and I try to compare where she is with our data, and it's just impressive how y'all do this year in and year out. I mean, every year this data has grown. And what really sparks my interest is what you said a few minutes ago, where you said, not only are we going to do this right now, but we're going to have a plan for them in kindergarten. And with Ms. Stilley's new program with the once and all that, that's only going to signify, because now that plan is going to an individual who's going to be working with these kids. And I can't wait to see what this data is in 5 years, 2 years. I think it's going to do nothing but grow.
Yeah.
So thank you to your team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, great job. It's going to definitely help with the wants, because they're going to be proficient in what they need to know moving forward and how to get to the stuff on the computer and all that, even in 3-year-old, 4-year-old coming in kindergarten. And then hopefully those kindergarten kids who did so great this year will continue in first grade, yeah.
Correct.
Good job.
Yes, ma'am.
And the short joke was good. That was a good one.
That was her joke.
That was my joke.
Oh, okay.
I only
It
did
was good.
colors.
It was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, really, Joey, I can't speak.
I mean,
I
look,
think I'm
this
shorter
chair
than
is
you.
all the way up, Ron. This chair is
Mine
all the way
too.
up. Tom, Mr. Toller used to come over here and lower it every other meeting. So,
All right. We're going to move on to item 3B, which is an update on the 2026 LEAP and kindergarten through third grade DIBELS results. Dr. Fussell.
When I got up on what that was signifying there, but I want to take you just a little bit on further down the journey, like Ms. Brabham just did. We saw all this for pre-K, and what's interesting is you're going to see a similar trend in our really 3 through 10, our LEAP. So first, we're going to do DIBELS, and we've really kept you all up. Am I supposed to have a clicker?
I'm not supposed to have a clicker.
I don't know how I'm going to keep things rolling.
I'll give you a clicker.
I guess I don't know how Ms. Brabham probably pulled her own clicker.
that's a typical educator move. I need a clicker and a laser to point.
See if I can use it.
Now, hold
A
on.
clicker and a
Let me
laser
plug it
beam.
Oh, well, maybe if you plug, yeah.
2 seconds. There we go.
Next.
Your student teacher. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we really have, we've tried to keep you all up on DIBELS throughout the year because it really, our once program, this is where we can measure the effectiveness of it. So we did beginning of the year, mid-year, but overall with K to 3, we had 17.7 growth, percentage points in growth. We surpassed the state's overall growth, which we were really, really proud of, because that's kind of a measurement where we may see growth, but when we're outpacing the state, that's taking everybody into account. Every grade level improved. If you remember, we had second grade at mid-year. We kind of saw they didn't decrease, but they didn't increase. At the end of the year, we saw an increase. Our kindergarten grew 42%. And some people would say, well, they were kindergartners and they don't all go through pre-K, so yeah, they're going to grow. But even when we expect growth, because of the once program, we still saw 7% and higher by school, and we know that that's because of our once program, because that was the only thing new we did from our previous years. And then we're really excited our students with disabilities grew 9.4%. That's a group that when you get to our SPS score, we continuously, we've struggled with getting our students with disabilities at the same pace of growth. We're really proud of it with DIBELS because let me tell you about the academic team. Even when the third graders, when they still weren't at the level, the good call clause, they don't have to, the good cause clause, the special ed students would be able to use their IEP to still promote. But the academic team, not acceptable. They still have to come to the summer program and retest again because we want them to continue to grow. Just because they can go ahead and promote doesn't mean we're going to stop working to get them to meet their targets. So this is in a graph form, as Ms. Brabham said. I don't know why I can't get it to, I'm just going to say next because I don't like to kill time with that. So this is our chart. It's not as pretty as Ms. Brabham's charts, but you can see this was what we've been sharing with the public, our overall growth. And our third graders, we had a 34% decrease in the number of third graders who were retained, who had to be retained because they did not get where they needed to be on their DIBELS. So that was a big win for our students, and we still had over 100 of our special ed students attend. And we had one third grader who did not make the DIBELS score, but made mastery on the LEAP and was able to promote. And that's not something, we look for things like that to make sure we're in alignment because the child could have had a bad test day. So we had one student score mastery so they would promote. So that's our DIBELS data. Now this data is what just came out from the state that everybody's been buzzing about on Facebook and super excited about. For the state, they had a 2% overall growth, and we had a 1% overall growth. And we're talking about proficiency only. So when our SPS data comes out and we share it with everybody, we talk about the bottom 25%, we talk about growing students. This is just mastery. We're just talking about the students who scored mastery. So we're super excited to see a plus in that column. Would we like it to be higher? Like we say, always. Always we want to be higher. But to see this as a plus, we were excited. So just to take you through a little bit of the highlights, and this is where I say you see the similar trend with Ms. Brabham's pre-K data. We're consistently seeing more growth in math than in our ELA, which is why our once program and our DIBELS and our pre-K program, that is so important. Because we know that if we can maintain that we're going to see all these other grade levels go up. I think Ms. Rose had a great point about not letting them like really watching that. And we have, it's almost like, and I don't really go to the beach a lot, but you know how you see those, the balls bobbing out in I'm scared of water. I can't swim, so I don't know what they're called.
The
but
buoys?
I know this, when they go down, something's happening, right? Like there's lots of waves. It's not safe. I don't want the grandkids go out there. We're seeing that with ELA. Like we'll see one grade level go up and we'll see one kind of go down. But we've got markers now like we've never had before where we don't have to wait to the next end of the year to see that kind of dip. We start to see it with our benchmark data. We see it with our DIBELS. We're watching them by grade level. Like that second grade where we saw that kind of stall out. In the old days, we wouldn't know it till the end of the year testing. Now we get it in real time. So ELA is still our area for 3 through 10, really, that we're seeing some areas of okay, everybody's doing great in this grade level, and then we see it go down. But math, we're consistently seeing progress in math. And as you can see with the pre-K data, that's aligning to that. And so we do want to highlight, we had some schools who outpaced the state in their overall proficiency. This is where they took every grade level on their campus for elite tests and they averaged it all up, and they were in Amite High School, 6% overall proficiency growth, Kentwood High 5, Roseland 3, Jules Sumner High 5, and Woodland Park 3%, which we're super excited about because we've been seeing slow growth there, but this was they outperformed some of our other elementary schools in their overall proficiency growth. This is just ELA, so you can see the top gains, and we really, this is what the academic team's doing right now. They're going to look at the ones who had this kind of growth to see, okay, what was there anything different? Were there interventions done differently? Was it a different time? Like the academic team, they're deeply diving in to see what happened here that we can translate somewhere else. Math proficiency, look, Kentwood High 7%, Ponchatoula Junior High 5%. This is just the 3 to 8. We're going to get to the high school. Here's the high school in English 1 and 2. 7% Kentwood High, and we didn't see a lot of growth in English, so we really wanted to highlight Kentwood High's growth here, English 1 and 2. The other 3 schools, you can see it's in math, well above what the state's proficiency rate was. We're super excited about that. This is U.S. history and civics, where we've had a change in the state testing for the civics. We saw 10% at Sumner High, 8% at Ponchatoula High. And overall, as a district, we had positive growth in U.S. history and civics. And so one of the things I want to point out that you all did that is really making a difference is when you granted that academic data analyst we have, Amy Ard, let me just tell you, there was days where we'd still be going through this data. Amy spits that stuff out faster than I can even express to you. Like, we're sitting at the Model Schools Conference, the data's coming in, Miss Stilley says immediately, like, I want to know, and we go out to start doing a little rough. It's all in a chart, beautiful by the end of the day from Amy Ard, who is she's a one-person team doing this, and then for every school, she puts their data in a notebook. So right now, principals are already able, because we're staffed, we still have a few little vacancies, but principals are able to go look and say, ooh, Do I need to do any adjustments before the school year starts? Where there was a time we were still looking at this when the school year started. So I just want to say thank you again for granting us that. We can tell it's making a difference. We're not satisfied. This is an overall highlight. We'll have more accolades and things to shout out for our schools. I know Ms. Stilley does that at our principal kickoff and our rally. But our teachers are really, we can never say enough about what our teachers do. And like Ms. Brabham said, we can share it, we can monitor it, but if our teachers don't really dig in to see what needs to happen and then give us feedback on it, that's where we're seeing the growth. That's why we're seeing, I think the growth that we are seeing is that our teachers have bought in, they're locked in, they're doing it. We listen when they say, hey, this might need to be adjusted. That's what our academic team does during the summer. And then the last plug, going back to Ms. Brabham's pre-K, and I know she did a coffee talk on this, but we still have spots that should not be open. That there are spots that we need children in our pre-K programs because that's what builds into our K-3, and that's where we as a parish will continue to see growth as we stay focused on early childhood literacy. Like she said, that opens the doors. That's the best thing we could do. I know from my own grandkids who don't always like to read. I have going to be a third grader next year. My bribing comes in, read me a book, whatever you're doing. And we started that with our partners in literacy. We can all do that wherever we are, have them read something to us and reinforce that because everybody together is what's going to get us to 100% proficiency one day, I believe. Any questions about our scores or data? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just, if there's any correlation also between the Alexa and the Zern and the kids working on that in extra, are some of these higher scores reflective of who did the most?
Tell you, I'm about to put Miss Rose on the team. That's what we're looking at. And that's where the principals who maybe, all of our schools, I'm not going to lie, because of our weekly challenge updates, they're not slacking off, but the implementation of the quality of the implementation, with Zern, it is research-based. If the student does this, you see this positive impact, and that's why we're seeing that with the math. With the ELA, Lexia is not as correlated. Like Zern was actually a tier 1 curriculum, so it goes right along. Lexia, the kids don't really like it as much as they do the Zern. And there's not a lot out there for ELA. But research shows that even our high school kids in 9th and 10th grade who do that, it's because it goes to the 8th grade letter, you're going to see improvement, but we still have to work on the time too. So if I need both, where the school struggle is, how do I get Lisa ELA and math and I only have this much time in the day? Mm-hmm. So we really, like Ms. Brabham was saying, we really have to help the schools, and our ELA team's been doing this, make individual plans for our students. And as far as our interventions too, we have a very tight plan for ELA. Like if you're a third grader who's still well below going into third grade, you're going to have this program, but then you're going to get that teacher table, and you're going to have that time with that teacher, and the plan's going to be based on how you finished your last school year. So it's really, we've gotten so much tighter, and it really comes from having that data at our fingertips that we just didn't have before. And our principals now, they know how to find it. And I told Ms. Stilley today, they're spoiled. They get it dropped in their lap, and there's other principals in districts having to go to the state website and sort through the district and sort through all the schools, and then ours is in a data notebook ready to go. So thank you again for that.
Well, I will say about the Zern, I guess mostly the Zern, but I asked my grandson once, he was 2nd grade, we were just talking about, do you like this, do you like that? And he's like, I really like doing that Zern. It's like the an award or like it was presented in a way that this was a privilege to get to do this, not that it was an extra lesson. So I don't know if that's how that's presented in other classes, but that's what he told me. So he thought he was being, like recognized or awarded to get to do that. So I don't know.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what they are telling them in school before summer, but my granddaughter's going in 3rd grade, and she told us this week that she wanted chapter books because she's older now and she needs to read chapters. So we're trying to find her books that she'll be interested in that are chapter books.
Yeah, it's our principals did a great job in challenging kids. If you were at an end of the year program, you probably heard one of them say, hey, for Zern, you could do this lesson, and we're going to give you this when you come back, or if you go to the library. And I'm still going to tell you about once, there are still parents who keep saying, I just can't believe their children who finished the once program in kindergarten, those kids are reading. And what we're committed to is we're not backsliding. So we told those first grade teachers, we're like, you better be ready. They're coming on grade level, and you have to be prepared to teach them at that grade level so we don't go backwards.
Yeah, my granddaughter is in kindergarten at Chesbro, and with the little program they had, I mean, her whole personality is just changing and come out. She was just, I posted it on Facebook and it just kind of went viral, but she is reading in the once program.
That's good to hear.
I'm going to say this, and I know Mr. Anthony usually champions this as well. It is very, very exciting to see our early learning excelling at the rate that it is compared to some of our private schools throughout the parish. Because for a long time, that was something we couldn't really put our finger on, was that they were kind of outperforming us on early childhood. That is not the case anymore, I don't believe. The amount of time and energy and money we've thrown at this and the stuff that we're seeing is, I think, going to excel there even further, and that puts us ahead of our competitors in the parish. And like I said, I know you don't ever want to be a competitor in education, but it's always good when you're first in your public
We're
school.
a pretty competitive group. I'm just going to tell you. We're a pretty competitive group.
And we are expanding the once into first grade. Because our belief is if we have 100% of them proficient by third grade, it's going to be a very easy future for them.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to item 4, which is board actions, and item A is consider approval of substantial completion of McLean Construction LLC for Woodland Park 6 classroom addition. It says Miss Stilley, but Mr. McNeely can fill in if that's all right.
Still, I'm gonna go over here.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it might be better if you do it, no offense. Should be pretty simple, though, at this point.
We did the ribbon cutting, didn't we?
Yeah, we're in the building already.
Motion second.
Motion to adopt.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
I would just commend, this was a great contractor, this was a great project.
Yeah.
If you want to see the future of what our schools are going to look like, it's a very simple layout, very easy to maintain, and came in, I think, $2 million under the original forecast.
Super fast.
Yes.
Super fast.
Looks good.
I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were with the show.
You're getting older.
Yeah, I feel that too.
All right, so we do have a motion by Mr. Westmoreland, and you second by Ms. Richards. All right, do you have any other comments? Yeah, it is a beautiful building, and they're, I'm sure, occupying the building at this point, huh? Ms. Silly, you know? They moved in?
Well, yeah, there'll be kids in it in
Oh,
August.
August,
in a
yeah,
couple
well, school
weeks.
hadn't started
Yeah,
yet.
3 weeks.
All right, good deal. All right, Ms. Amanda, we'll do a roll call vote on that one.
Mr. Anthony,
Yes.
Mr. Westmoreland,
Yes.
Miss Abrams,
Yes.
Miss Dominguez,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Piazza,
Yes.
Miss Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Toller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to item B, which is consider approval of the student accident insurance renewal. Mr. Powell.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Tonight before you is the student accident renewal. This is the coverage that protects athletes, vocational students, kids on field trips, and if you remember last year, we actually added all children to this during school time. So everybody is covered under the plan, all the students. Happy to inform you, no changes, and the premium actually went down pretty good. Can't see what it was last year.
Roll down a little bit.
Go down.
There you go. Yep, 98,000 was last year.
And we're at, so 98 last year, and we're at 81,000 this year, so
Say less. I motion to adopt.
Don't get many decreases these days.
I motion to accept this accidental renewal.
But yeah, no changes to anything and pretty nice decrease, so happy to take any questions if you guys have any.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Piazza to accept. Do we have a second? Second. All right, second by Mr. Toller. Sorry, I didn't know which one came first. But now, do we have any other questions for Mr. Powell?
And it still includes every student, right? That
Correct.
didn't change. I know sometimes that'll change when you see a decrease.
We got the whole 9 under.
Whole 9, perfect.
Good deal. And the price didn't go up. I think that's the main thing.
Went down, yeah.
That's even
That was the good news.
If you notice, before we added the students, it was 76,000 2 years ago.
Yep.
So now with what you added, it's only $5,000 more.
Right.
To add complete coverage for recess and any other activity.
Now, I know LaRonda's going to be upset. I see where it says no sponsored rodeos, but it looks like that was excluded for a long time.
That's
No more
excluded.
donkey
Get with
ba-
me before y'all do one of those.
No more donkey basketball.
No,
then.
no.
Yes. Dang.
Me too.
You just can't cover it.
Anybody else? Questions or comments?
No, I love donkey basketball. I
Now,
miss
go
donkey.
ahead and call for the vote, Ms. Amanda.
Mr. Anthony?
I don't
Yes.
miss the workman comp claims.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Yes.
Miss Abrams?
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Powell.
you, sir.
All right, we have item C. It's a presentation by Blue Line Solutions. That'll be Ms. Barb Manton.
I'd like to say, while she's getting ready, Sheriff Sticker invited me to his office a couple weeks ago, and Miss Manton was there, did a presentation on this blue light solution, which is a speed limit enforcement program for school zones. And she's going to do a presentation tonight and give the board an update on what that might look like. So useful.
We'll open those in just a second.
Don't open.
Get the number 2 pencil ready.
Scantron? Got Scantron down there?
I do remember Scantron.
All right, and my name is Barb Manton, and I am with Blue Line Solutions. I have the privilege of being a 30-year law enforcement officer. Blue Line Solutions is basically owned by law enforcement and is run by retired law enforcement as well as veterans. So veteran-owned as well. And so we have a passion for safety. And what we do is we work along with schools and law enforcement agencies and communities to make our school zones safer. And I spoke with Sheriff Sticker, and he asked me to come out and do speed studies, and that's how we accumulate data in order to know, do we even have a problem? If we do have a problem, then we try to address it and be proactive versus reactive if there is a child hurt in a school zone. So this is my presentation to kind of give you all a quick information relative to what I've done. Okay. All right, so give you just a little information. We're headquartered out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Everything we do is out of that headquarters. We're actually active in 13 states. We have over 100 programs. Everything is put together and run out of in Chattanooga. So it's all by USA and NDAA compliant, which is the National Defense Association compliant. All right, so our data, which is what we do every month, every day, collect data. So we go back, and right now it was 90+%. Most of our schools with speeding problems are 94% reduction in speeding, which is huge. We have over 100 agencies, like I mentioned, that we are actually active in, And one of the good things about all of this is we are secure. We actually work with the Criminal Justice Department. Everything is maintained based on the FBI Criminal Justice computers, and everything is very, very, very SOC 2 certified, which is basically says that we have the highest certification for auditing and keeping people's records and information. Okay? It's zero cost to your community. This is totally 100% violator funded. So you'll never get a bill from Blue Line Solutions. Even if there's no revenue made, you will not get a bill from Blue Line Solutions. We'll eat it. We handle everything from getting the permits all the way through, 100% turnkey. There's no risk to your parish at all, and it'll be basically run by your sheriff, who, as long as he keeps the program, okay? What we do first is a 5-day study. I went out to all of the unincorporated areas in Tangi Parish and put together 5 days in March, where Monday through Friday, accumulated data based on the schools when they were actually active for the school zone times. So the way the state legislature put it was that you could only go an hour before school and an hour after school, which is the way your school zone times are. And each school, not all of them are the same. So I have to look and make sure. And we can only put automated speed enforcement in a school that actually has designated legal school zones. So if there's a school, which you all had some, that basically had no school zone, so I wasn't able to do a study in those schools. If they choose to do this with the parish, and y'all, because you have to be a partner, there's 30-day warning period after the actual cameras get in the ground. And during that time and during the process, we're totally transparent. We made sure that everyone in the community knows what's happening. We spend a lot of time with education, getting out, doing presentations, PTAs, social media, on TV, whatever it takes to make sure that everybody knows before implementation. So there should be no one that ever speeds in a school zone anymore. And then after a 30-day warning phase where you would just get a warning in the mail, you will actually have an enforcement phase. And then after that, we continue to get the data so we can give it to y'all. We can tell you, we're at hopefully 96, 97%, bless you, of reduction in speeding, because that's the whole goal, is to stop them, okay? This is just some pictures of some of our media. We do public information and education ongoing. We provide everything for the PIO officers, and we work with whomever you all choose to make sure we can get the word out. We have little postcards. We have things for the students to bring home to their parents. Everything will be helped with all of your information on it, with start dates, information, so that everyone knows what's going to happen. Transparency is like the most important thing. We never want to try to get somebody, and we want to make sure that the public is aware of what we're going to do. Okay? Let's talk about speed for just a second. 20 miles over the speed limit, you actually have, if a child's hit or someone's hit, 90% chance of survival. When you move up to 40 miles an hour in a car, you're down to only 10% chance of survival. And then you look at some of the distances it takes to stop. At 20 miles per hour, it takes 22 feet just for you to recognize I have a problem, and up to 49 feet before you actually can stop. So when you have a lot of traffic, people turning into schools, people coming out of schools, school buses going in and out, and then if you do have some pedestrian traffic, some kids crossing the streets, speed does kill these children. And these are stats that actually come from national, not us, but this is actually for National Highway Traffic Safety, the Governor's Highway, as well as the AAA. So in the study, y'all can open your folders. And
Open your test.
yes, yeah. On the right-hand side is the analysis. That actually, on the second page, if you open that, I've got the schools listed. This is just a summary of the 14 schools, and you can go through each one of these schools. We had total vehicles that went through in that 5 days. In the morning and afternoon is 117,790 cars. And in that, we had over 26, almost 27,000 violations. Now, a violation is 11 miles over the posted school zone. 11 miles over. So that's significant because like we were just talking about, if you have a school zone that's 15 miles per hour and someone is going 26, there's a good chance that if something does happen, there's going to be injuries. And if you go
We're always
to...
on the north end, we always have the highest scores. We're at 94% in Spring
Rural
Creek.
roads, they're not paying attention.
Yeah, but Spring Creek Elementary with
Leading the parish, Tom.
945
That's an A in my
cars,
book.
889 of them were going 11 miles over the speed limit. That's a 94% speeding. That's on the, I mean, that's not a good thing to be in the high end on these.
They usually have a trapper going.
It is kind of scary.
Champ Cooper is pretty scary too.
Oh,
33.
when I was putting
about that all the
the
time.
cameras out, you know, we have what we call them armadillos, and they're from Houston Radar, and we go out and I was putting them up. And I literally thought I was going to die at some of the schools because the people were flying by so fast, and I'm trying to put them on the poles, and it was kind of scary. So, I mean, you think about how many cars are going in and out, and it's pretty frightening. All right, I'm going to explain to you real quick on how it works. We use LiDAR. LiDAR is 99.9%. I mean, it's not like radar. These are lasers, all right? So you have these lasers going at averaging 1.5 seconds of separation between a vehicle, and we can actually catch the cars. It's a single beam architecture, and if you look at the actual layup of the street there, you can see what happens is we have by law, we have to have a sign that says photo speed enforcement, and it actually tells people what's going to happen. And we now have to have school placarded on the actual, like a school zone. I know you've seen them in other places on the street. And we have specific guidelines we have to do for that. Then as soon as they get past that, they're going to have a radar feedback sign that shows them how fast they're going. If they're going 26 or 27, it's 15, then they have time to slow down quickly. Then you're going to see your actual signs that have, between 7 and 9, or in the afternoon times. I know I was talking to Stilly, and y'all are moving away from the flashing lights because it's hard to keep those regulated in that.
That can never work.
So we wouldn't possibly, you may not have that, or you may actually go to those, and we can help y'all do that eventually. And then, of course, after that, if you're still going 11 miles over the speed limit, you will have a LiDAR speed camera take a picture of your license plate. And then you would give a civil citation. It's not criminal, and it's not points against your insurance. The fine would be set by the parish, and the parish council would set all of that with specifics. And that would be in a contract that they do, or an ordinance that they would pass, and then in the contract, we would work on that. Okay. Just like I said, the Louisiana revised statutes 43 through 49 actually set that all of the requirements, how the legislator passed all this in 2015, actually it was legal. And then each year they have made it a little more stringent, which is good. They are now only allowed to have automated speed enforcement in a school zone because they realize how important it is to have those. And it has been consistent in the school zones. So we're happy about that. It's violator funded only. It doesn't cost y'all anything. In fact, you all will actually get some income from if people actually speed. The threshold is always 10 plus. We like to say 11 plus, not just 10 miles over the speed limit, because everybody drives, unfortunately, 10 miles over the speed limit, so you're not going to get that ticket till after 11. We want to be totally transparent. We don't want to ever, try to manipulate the public and not tell them what's going on. All right, so this is kind of how it works. The parish is going to pass an ordinance, and the law enforcement agency, of course, will have to review and look at every citation. And then the government authority of school, which is y'all, will you all, according to the statute, which is 3246, you will actually get a portion of the revenue that is made from the citations. And what will happen is yours and the law enforcement agency, y'all would have to come with a cooperative endeavorment agreement according to the statute, and so that you all would be able to get your funds. And then you could use them however y'all designate. So the driver pays the fine. We would deduct our cost. Each one of the cameras are somewhere in the neighborhood about $70,000. And of course, we maintain them. If a hurricane comes and somebody runs them over, whatever happens to them, we just replace them. We keep putting them out for the duration of the contract. Then you all and the law enforcement agency, which of course is the sheriff's office, would split your profits there. And so that's kind of in a nutshell. I know I'm making it quick. So, obviously there's some, they have to work out all of the details. But, yes.
Question, what, an average price for a ticket? What have you seen? I know different
Anywhere
regions.
from like $80 to $150 for the first. And then a lot of times for the second, it'll go up significantly. And then, of course, which, my next slide, which I'll just show you how it would work, but they, with it being a civil citation, the citation will go to them, and it has all of the information relative to payment, how to do it, and then if they want to contest it, they can also do that as well. And we're working on getting through the, I think they were looking at a justice of the peace to actually do some of the traffic hearings for those that contest. And then, of course, on the back of the citation, there's also an attestation that says, I wasn't driving the car, X was. So then they would give that to us, and we would send the citation to the person actually driving the car. Because we have a lot of parents, that own a car, and their child is driving the car to high school and speeding. So they may want them to slow down and.
You'll have to pay it either way.
Yeah.
So, any more questions before I?
You're fine, I'll ask you.
I was just going to show the process of, real quick, the citations. Basically, you have a speed violation is detected. The images are collected. Our cameras work in storms, rain, night, day, whatever. Of course, y'all aren't going to be giving them at night, but whatever. Then those citations, we have someone that actually sits and reviews every single one of them and puts the information relative to that car. So they are the DMV records, they have all access to that, and they would put together the information on the screen, and then that software goes to Sheriff Sticker and whomever his office or deputies would be that would review. There's actually, it has to be a designated deputy law enforcement officer who actually has to look at every single one of the citations. And his name, his signature, is actually on the signature that he approved it. So if he approves it, and he can deny it because it's whatever, for whatever reason, it's their discretion. And then they also can put a hold to do more research, like they're just not sure, they couldn't see well, or whatever it was. They can actually do that and come back to that one. And it usually takes a second or two for them to actually look and say, yeah, that's that car, that's the DMV record information. It looks, yeah, it's a red this, or, car matches everything. And then they would actually, after we get approved on that, we'll actually process it and mail it out. And
Does it have to be a signature ticket, do you have to sign for it at the post
Yes.
office? Okay, well, how do you know they get the ticket? How do you know?
You would be surprised how many people are honest about, they know they sped, and they get the ticket, and then we'll send them, if we don't hear from them within so many days, which is set out in the ordinance, then we send them a second notice. And then there's like a third notice. Louisiana does not have stringent ways to get them to pay the citations. Basically, all we can do is turn it over to collections. We will send a certified letter to them if we don't hear from them. You know, it's a process. We give them the opportunity to take care of it on their own. And then after so many days, if they haven't, we send a second notice. And then the next time, it's going to be a certified letter to let them know that this is pending.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Mingus, yes.
Well, I have a couple different questions. So first one is, why do we have some schools that don't have a posted speed zone?
That is a problem. I have, just because I'm dealing with this all the time, it has to do with DOTD. And either the city or you have to request it. I know in Kentwood, when I went and did theirs, I did that for Kentwood PD, they did not have a sign on, it's not the high school, it's the other school that's off the interstate. I can't remember its name. But they didn't have the signs. So I told Chief Kazaruni I couldn't do it because there was no sign. He made a few phone calls and got a sign there because it wasn't posted correctly and legally. So,
Well, my second question, kind of in the same, like Champ Cooper and some of the other schools are actually on a state highway, not a rural highway. Would it still fall under the sheriff's department if it's a state highway? Okay.
the only thing that would not is an interstate, which we don't have any on this, so we're good.
Then my other thing is, I'm not sure exactly what the distance rather is where the sign would be posted, but say for instance at Champ Cooper, we did put the flashing lights, sometimes they worked, the weather was bad, they wouldn't work, but we had signs that said, you know, even if it wasn't flashing, like this is but it's so close to when you're actually 25, there's no warning, like you're at the school before the sign is there. But some schools, it's further back. So I don't know if there is where you would put them.
Yes, ma'am.
Like if you have to adjust the ones that are there.
Actually, there is, because it's all set out and a site survey has to be approved by the state for every single one of the ones that are on state highways. There is actual requirements to how many feet. So if a school zone is not large enough or long enough to go along with the way the statute reads, then if we can't work on making it legal, then we can't put a camera there.
Yeah, because we're about to start with a little further back turning there, which is really going to mess up the sign now if we didn't do anything. We still have to adjust that. So, but you said at some point in your presentation that you guys would work with us to change the signs or remove what we have and fix all of that, and that would be your expense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We want them to be all the same. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and it has to be legal with the way the statute reads. And the permits that we have to get from DOTD or from the parish, they're not going to get, we have to submit site surveys. I mean, it's a stringent process to be able to even put the cameras in. And we have to jump through those hoops to make sure we get it just the way it's supposed to be.
Personally, I'd like to find out why some of our schools don't have them and if they do have capabilities of having them. You know, because if they don't, it's kind of unusual to not have the speeds on.
Mr. Piazza, do you want to, if you want, item D is consider approval for the superintendent to enter into negotiations. If you want to hang on to your question, we can get a motion maybe and then ask it. If you don't mind hanging tight, Ms. Barb, can you do that?
Oh, sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
So that being said, item D is consider approval for the superintendent to develop a MOU with the Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office to implement a school zone speed limit enforcement program through Blue Light Solutions, pending final board approval before implementation. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Abrams and a second by Mr. Piazza, and now we'll enter into discussion, so go ahead and ask that question you had, please.
I have a few. I just want to make sure that this is just for her to go out and enter into an agreement and bring it back.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
That's
Well, a
correct.
correction to the motion, it says blue line, but on the motion, it says blue light.
Blue light, yeah.
It should say blue line, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Amanda?
You need to fix
Just a
that.
typo.
What is?
It
Blue
says
line,
blue
not
light,
blue
not blue line in the
Oh,
motion.
I see. Okay, I can fix that.
Joe, you had,
Yeah, I got a few questions and then I'll call it quits. A few, and because I do insurance, I know it's not going against our insurance because it's civil, not. What is going to be and who defines that, the penalty for not paying the fine? That's number one. So let's say I speed, I get it. It's not a criminal offense. It's not going to affect my DMV record. It's not going to affect my license renewal. What is it going to affect to make people want to pay the bill? That's number one. What's the
you
penalty?
mentioned earlier she would turn you over to collections, so
Yeah.
ruin your
It
credit.
can go to collections if that's what the parish decides to do, because they'll set out those types of penalties. I mean, there's, like other states have where you can, hold up their registration, all that. We don't have that in Louisiana.
Any debt owed to a government is not turned over like normal collections, is turned over to the state office of debt collection, and they can suspend driver's license.
Okay,
But
that was my question.
This cannot be done that
You can't go to the office of debt collection.
They changed the law for that.
That
so
was
you
why
can't
I
do
asked that
anymore.
question.
You can't do that anymore. The statute actually specifically says that. So, a lot of people, because they'll hear, don't pay it, don't pay it, don't pay it, but you'd be surprised how many people actually pay, because they
Right.
know they
And
should
look,
have
I'm
been
hoping
speeding.
everybody pays if they get it because they did what's wrong and you should do it. Second is the hearing for an appeal. How does that work since it's civil? Is it going to go to the courthouse? Is it going to go
It's-
to?
Well, the way the statute reads it, it just has to be a hearing officer. So it can be a magistrate, it can be an attorney that is in a position, and it's basically held like with your parking tickets or code violations for the parish. So it can be someone that just sets, one of their appointed attorneys to be an acting magistrate or an acting judge that would actually set up, and we would work with them. We have an actual court division that we prepare all of the court packets with the certifications, the pictures, and all of the information. And we actually set them based on what we're told by that hearing officer when we can do it. So we're not going to go through 21st. We're trying to bypass that since it is a civil matter. They don't want to be bothered with that. So the parish would have to set up a traffic type division with their code enforcement, and those sorts of things, dogs, things that they hear.
And then last two is contract length. I know since it's going through the sheriff's office, do we have a say if we say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore, we're reluctant to what the sheriff says? So if the sheriff says, hey, I'm keeping the program, you got to like it or not, it's through our department. Is there a way to opt out of that?
Actually, it's going to be with the parish government.
Okay.
And the sheriff's office runs the program on behalf of. So it's basically kind of a three-tier. The school, we kind of like the buy-in, you have to, because you're going to receive funds. And if you don't, we actually have some that don't want the funds. But they're not fighting it, and but the endeavorment agreement, based on the statute, it has to be in place. So everybody has to be on board.
Yeah, because when you hear the word contract, like I do contracts for a living, I always worry about that length of contract and how hard it is to get out of it in case the product is not what it is, right? If it's really bad or something going on, be able to get out of it. And if we're not over that control of it, but we're the ones having to deal with the angry public about it, that's my big concern there. And then I saw the vendor fee. How much is that vendor fee? Like usually a roundabout, like
It's a percentage, usually it's 30.
30% of the total fee? Okay, so if the ticket's $100, you take 30% and then the rest is split amongst everybody else. Okay,
And that's to keep up everything.
gotcha.
And we put, obviously, all the upfront costs.
Right, and that's.
And we may or may not get it back in the 3-year contract.
Yeah, if somebody doesn't pay the bill, you don't get it, and
That's
you
right.
got a camera there
And it's
regardless.
only after what is actually brought in from the fines, so
Gotcha.
what's paid.
Gotcha.
So you just said it's a 3-year contract?
Normally, it's 3,
Yeah, I
and
think
with
that
the
answers
option
that
to
question.
renew. Yeah, that's normally where we start, and we can even, a lot of times, we start with like a pilot program. We would just do like 1 or 2 schools, let's see how this works. And then we can always add the schools as needed, you know. So there's all different options for the parish to look at.
Yeah, quick question, and no offense, but anytime we're talking about 3 agencies going together with one
Right.
company, I really would like to see us to have some comparison shopping. You know, I don't know who is the driver here, if it's the sheriff, parish government, or us, but somebody needs to do an RFP to go out and see what, like I said, no offense.
Yeah,
It's a great program,
understandable.
and I understand what we're trying to do, and I support it 100%. I will say, in defense of some of the rural schools, when you have a highway passing by in front of like Sumner, which is off the road, there's not a bus stopping, but anyway, that's, still needs to slow down, and I get it. But just moving forward, I hope at some point that somebody is doing an RFP to find out what options are out there when they come back and say, this is the best company after looking at all of them, and then all of us can get buy-in. So,
Maybe the sheriff did that already.
maybe so, and maybe so.
You said that a magistrate or a JP or somebody would be the one to go if you want to appeal it. Who pays these people?
The parish.
The parish would pay
Yeah,
them?
and portion of if they're found guilty, there's usually a court cost of $25 that they have to pay as well. And that's all part of the ordinance, that when they set that out, if you're going to contest it, and if you're actually found guilty, then there's actually a court cost, a lot of times associated with it. So,
And what happens if they're not found guilty?
and they don't have to pay for it.
But we still have to pay that magistrate or that JP for doing their job.
Very good question.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's the way it would work.
Do I need to amend that motion for you, Mr. Toller, to add that into the thing, that once it comes back, we should see RFQs?
I think the motion is already authorized the superintendent.
Yeah, and then somebody mentioned that the sheriff's department may have already done an RFP or searched other
I
companies.
just want to make sure when it comes back, we don't have a hiccup and have to do it again to say, hey, can they provide us with one, or do we need to provide one?
It's
with
muddy
them?
because there's 3 agencies working
Right.
together.
And I agree. I think
But
you're
whoever's
right.
driving it needs to be able to tell us that we've looked at these numbers and this is the best.
I
You know,
agree.
there may be a company that says, look, we're doing this for 50%.
Basically, we have no control over anything because the sheriff's going to be okaying the ticket or denying the ticket, and the parish is going to be paying.
There's the contract.
They're going to do the contract. So
Hold the
we have
contract.
really no say in anything other than if we want it or not.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like.
No,
We're
I
not
agree with
governing
you.
it, and we're not issuing tickets, and we're not collecting tickets, and we're
No.
not installing the equipment. So we're really doing nothing except protecting our kids, which is kind of hard to say no to. in
Right,
my
right.
opinion. But, I did have, that being said, I have a couple questions. Actually, a quick statement for kind of just the board. I don't know if y'all noticed, but tickfall was 3% is how many sped, which, I mean, your tickfall's the biggest speed trap.
We're talking about tickfall.
So,
3%.
but that being said, it is, Tickfall's a municipality, I thought. They have their own police and all that.
Well, they definitely have it.
Lucille
Yeah,
and Easton,
sure.
was that?
They definitely have.
Yeah, they have, I believe that one might have to come off because they have their own police department, it's a municipality, just FYI.
Well,
Um,
and
Those
it's one of the
independents.
lower ones anyway. It doesn't
That's true. I mean,
have
nobody's speeding through
Yeah,
there,
we're
so.
not going to put a camera there.
Put your camera someplace
It would be too costly, and there's no speeding issue. That's the thing. We're not going to just put a camera up.
Gotcha.
There has to be an actual problem.
Okay.
You would definitely be wasting your money.
Yeah,
They
but
got
they're,
that handled, buddy.
you can't go, if it's 25 and you go 26, you're going to prison.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not.
They take your driver's license.
Yeah.
That's right. But everybody's trained that lives around here. But I did have a quick question. This is something that I ran into before. I used to travel 445 a lot, which runs in front of Champ Cooper. They get out at 245, if I'm not mistaken. Their speed zone goes until 4 o'clock. Like Rose said, sometimes their flashing lights don't work. So I got a monster ticket for going 54 in what was a 25 at 3:57 p.m.
He
So
started that
my
percentage.
question is, so I feel like some of our schools take in at 7:02 and release at 2:15, and some of them take in at as late as 8:15 and release at 3:35. So do y'all go looking, I mean, right now our signs posted are typically 7 to 9 and 2 to 4, which does cover those times. But Champ Cooper, for example, there wasn't a car or a bus or a student in sight for an hour and 15 minutes when I was passing through there. So my question is, do y'all kind of evaluate and say, hey, this is what time the school zone ought to be based on the time that they take students in and release students?
The statute says an hour before and an hour after it begins.
Okay.
And an hour before it ends, and then an hour after. And
Okay.
that's all that we can run the cameras. So based
Gotcha.
on the school's times is
Okay.
what we set the cameras for.
Well, good, because that would have
And
spared
then
me
that
a
should be the
second
posting.
ticket.
Well, not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Trent, because Champ Cooper has 2 dismissals and you were in. yeah,
Do they have 2 dismissals?
Yeah. they do.
Okay, well, there you go.
Lower
Well, I
end
was
up.
at-
You
it
was
was
a minute.
about 2 minutes before 4.
Just pay the ticket, man.
I did. This was years ago, and I think I did, or either that or, somebody helped me out with it. Nevertheless,
He's part of that.
that's the question I had, so.
He's part of that percentage you got on his paper, I gotta.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I paid it. Maybe it got to a non-moving violation or something. That being said, any other questions or comments, and if no, we can go ahead and call for vote. All right, let's do it, Ms. Amanda.
Have Ms. Abrams as making the motion and seconded by Mr. Piazza?
That's
Is that
correct.
accurate?
That's correct.
Mr. Anthony?
Yes.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Yes.
Ms. Abrams?
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for your time.
Thank you for
you.
yours.
And you have my
Thank you.
information in there. If y'all have more questions or something comes up, please feel free to call me. I live in Covington, so I'm not far away.
Okay, I'd like to say thank you for your program. As a grandmother of a 2-year-old that was hit on the highway and killed,
We're here to try to prevent that.
Yeah.
And actually, Blue Line was started by an officer that a child got, he died in his arms when he was a police officer on the roadway. And always said he was going to do something to make it safer on the roadways. And this is his company, because he so believed in being proactive. So I'm so sorry for your loss. Try to prevent those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to item E, which is the, potential cost stabilization plan for the 26-27 school year. Mr. McNeely.
Right, I have a handout I'm going to give you after I talk a little bit, because you don't have to do anything tonight. This is just us presenting to you, so you have something to take home. But just to update everyone and the folks at home, as you know, the governor issued an executive order, and under the governor's updated directive, stipend eligibility shifts significantly from last year. So instead of the state paying for the $2,000 and $1,000 for every employee, all non-certificated support staff who got $1,000 last year are eligible for $1,000 this year, whether they're in the central office, a branch office, a non-school-based support staff, or a campus-based support staff. However, the rules changed significantly for certificated staff. Only forward-facing frontline classroom teachers are getting $2,000. Everyone else who got $2,000 is getting nothing this year. Okay, so our school nurses, our school therapists, our school counselors, assistant principals, instructional coaches, coordinators, supervisors, directors, assistant superintendents, anyone that was actually on the educational side, they got $2,000 last year, get nothing under the current, I guess it's not current, under the approved proposal. The other significant change is there will not be that stipend this fall. In the past, the state fronted the money to us and said, here's who gets the stipend. Under this scheme, and I don't mean negative, it's just under this proposal, the way it works is the state is going to withhold 5% of our MFP money each month. So if they were supposed to give us $100,000, they'll give us $95,000, okay? They're taking that 5% and they're putting it into I'm going to count it, so in a bucket called the over collection fund. because the state can't actually take our MFP money or can't tell us how to spend the MFP money. So it's going into a different fund called the Overcollection Fund. And once that fund accumulates enough money for the $168 million that they estimate it to be statewide, 5.1 million for us, then they will release that money and tell us to pay the stipend. Now, doing easy math, they're going to have to take 10 to 12 months to get that money. So this stipend is going to be probably in May or June, unless the state is going to come up with some additional money to put in that to be able to front that. So it's a little convoluted, but I think our employees deserve to know and I'll continue. I was asked to come talk to the Legislative Audit Advisory Committee, and just a few things that I told them. That we as a district have already aggressively reallocated local revenue. There was a 1 cent sales tax that was dedicated just to facilities that got, with voter approval, changed to where it could be used for operation. Also, our voters in Tangipahoa Parish gave us a half-cent sales tax dedicated strictly to salaries, which has resulted since 2021 about a 20% base salary increase in Tangipahoa Parish for our teachers and all staff. Also, we provided proof there that 100% of the $132 million of MFP money that we received went into the classroom, into instructional. A matter of fact, we spent $198 million of what's qualified as instructional, which meant we put $62 million of local money along with the state money just to get the instructional cost of our district. We also showed that our total central office administration and the branch offices accounts for just 2.5% of our entire budget, making it mathematically impossible to absorb the state's $5.1 million, since we only spend $5.5 million on administration. So even if we cut administration 50%, it would still only give us $2.7 million. It would not be enough money to pay this 5.1. So it's great politics to say that what we need to do is cut the fat and cut the administration, but the math just doesn't work. Okay, I agree that we want to be as efficient as possible, but there's no there to cut that. We also exposed severe cultural friction caused by the arbitrary state eligibility rules, and in speaking to them, I said I think this was an unintended consequence, but school nurses who touch kids will get nothing. School therapists who work with kids will get nothing. Okay, our counselors will get nothing. Our assistant principals will get nothing. Principals will get nothing. But I get $1,000.
What about school bus drivers?
They get $1,000. Everybody who got $1,000 last year will get $1,000. So the supervisor of the nurses, for instance, all the nurses get nothing, but the supervisor will get $1,000 because they were considered support. So everybody in support is getting $1,000, but the educational people are only getting money if they're a classroom teacher, to where if you're not, they don't get the $1,000. They're getting nothing. I also let them know that currently our undesignated fund balance is 8.63% of our annual expenditures. The state has a requirement that number can't go below 7.5%, or you're considered in financial distress, and you have to go speak to that same committee about what your plan is to get your district out of that situation. If we were to use fund balance money to do this, we would fall to 6.3%. So we would be in financial distress. So using our fund balance is not an option. As well as during the discussion, one of the people said that, well, you can't really plan for disasters because we have a $7 million disaster fund in the event. To which I stated, yes, you do have to plan for disasters, and just know that in the past, FEMA has paid 80% or 90% of storms. That's changed to 50-50 now. So our exposure has gone from 20% to 50%, which if the math is right, that's more than double. We also communicated that basically we would be forced into facility expense cuts because that's really the place that we have the funds to do that. But we're in the middle of a federal court DSEG case where our final green factor is facilities. So regrettably, I believe I maybe changed hearts, but I didn't change any minds, and so the legislature did vote to ultimately do this. So what I have for you is a potential cost stabilization plan. We went through and looked at some of the options. The guiding principles from the administration on this is that we want student learning will remain our highest priority. Okay, our reading initiatives, our incentive pay, our performance pay, all of those things need to be maintained because of what we've seen. So we're looking at reducing discretionary spending, delaying non-essential purchases, reducing administrative operating costs, maximizing existing personnel before creating new positions, and filling only positions that directly support students, school operations, or legal compliance, and preserve our instructional programs and opportunities for students. I'm going to touch just some of the these are options. These are not recommendations, and these are not things that we're deciding tonight. One is to temporarily freeze our annual step. Everybody gets a step raise. That would be about a $2 million savings. Another thing, potential with that, is at that hearing, it came out from the legislative auditor that any raises or stipends given by local districts in the current year can be used as a credit against that stipend. So for instance, I'm getting a $1,000 stipend. The $500 stipend the board gives could reduce my stipend by that amount, and any step raise, if we did do step raises, would reduce that. So if my step raise was $300, my stipend was $500, then my state stipend would only be $200. Did I do the math
crazy.
good for everybody? There's no good options.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
Okay. They did that because there were some districts that had just done major raises for their coming school year, and they said, well, why aren't we getting credit for that? So they said, okay, well, any raise you give during the year, you get credit for. Strategic hiring freeze and position control, and the details are in there on those. Maximizing existing personnel, making sure that all of our the employees that we have, we're maximizing their potential. Administrative budget reductions, requiring every central office, branch office, department to reduce expenditures by 5%. Pausing non-essential purchases. Delaying non-emergency capital projects and maintenance projects that are not directly related to compliance with the federal desegregation case. Phase 2, classroom safety, HVAC failures and operations, security improvements and repairs necessary to prevent more costly damage. Reducing general fund support for extra duty, extracurricular activities to where the schools will more be the partners on these extracurricular costs, and then limiting general fund travel. So those are the 8 options that we came up with. If y'all have any additional after you look at this, let us know. We're in the process of doing the 26-27 budget, and so if you see any other cost-saving measures, and we'll all need to come together on how we want to try to walk through this.
So basically, we're being penalized for being good stewards of our money by passing a half-cent sales tax to pay our teachers. That we're being penalized because of that. Because they're now gonna, whatever we give our teachers, because we save the money, they're gonna take that out of our state funding for them, as far as their stipend. Is that what you're telling me?
One of the options we have is if we do a 500 stipend, we can reduce the 2,000 or the 1,000. They're not necessarily penalizing us for what we've already done. They're just not giving us credit for what we've already done. They're treating every district, and that was part of the testimony, they were treating every district as if they're the same. And just at the table that I had 2 other districts, we were incredibly unique in how we fund locally. How, one of them was Rapides Parish, that they just got all that money from the data center, and they just given all their folks $50,000 apiece. Well, we can't do that. We don't have a data center. We're different. But they kind of painted with a broad brush, and they came to a bottom line and said, oh, total in the state, y'all are all sitting on all this fund balance of hundreds of millions of dollars, and so you can just use that to pay. Well, the problem is you can't take, and I'm making this one up, you can't take $50 million in surplus at St. Tammany and use it to pay a stipend in Shreveport. Each district is, so it's a done deal. We can talk about the why and whether we're for it or against it or whatever, but we have to come up with a way to shave $5 million out of the money that we're $5.1 million out of what we were intended to spend this year to make, for us to pay the state stipend.
Mr. Piazza.
Two things. When do we need a decision to be made by, Mr. McNeely?
We will be introducing we'll be giving you a draft of the budget in July. We will be coming to finance August the 4th to start that period, and we have to adopt the budget by law by September 15th, but we really would like to adopt it September the 1st in case there's a glitch that night, so we make sure that we'll also be during the year possibly having to revise and amend the budget, depending on what things actually save money and what don't. But as I said, one of the easiest things is as we slow down major construction projects.
Yeah.
And my bigger concern, and I'll just be honest, my bigger concern is the second part of that order, which created a task force to go in and examine the MFP and try to find out how to make the teacher raises permanent. Well, I don't know how you get more money by not putting more money in. And
Right.
so I don't know how this isn't going to, maybe the answer may be, oh, well, we're going to cut MFP this much money all the time and use this and tell you, the local districts, how you must use those funds.
And second, just for the people at home, because I'm sure this is going to be a question many board members are going to receive when they see this and hear this, is the tax that we passed, the half-penny sales tax, can you explain to the public how that is not going to help us in this particular situation? How we've already utilized that fund for what it's meant to do? Because I'm sure there's somebody going to say, oh, well, they've got so much still left in there and they're not tapping it. Can you
Right.
explain to them
Sure.
why?
Can I piggyback on your question and
Yes.
just get a little bit more detailed, then I'll go to Mr. Mingus. I know we keep a kind of a bottom line, we try to keep that thing at the 4. Is it possible for us to dip for maybe this 1 year to try to capture some of that out of the EFID balance? So that's kind of a dual question.
So the chart that I showed you, I believe the last finance meeting, with the $500 stipend that we were scheduled to pay in this fall, the EFID is going below $4 million at that point without some major changes anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, you're the appropriators, we'll appropriate as much of that as you say, but the problem is you're getting dangerously low in that fund, and costs are not going down.
Yeah.
So I would not recommend using that. I would recommend we need to make cuts where we need to make cuts, because I really don't believe this is going to be a 1-year thing. I really think that we are going to be looking at decreases in our MFE funding going forward, which hasn't been increased since 2016. I don't think there's been an increase in MFP since 2016.
Yeah, I don't think there has. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and it's just mine. And like I said, because a lot of people are going to ask that question because we just passed it. They're going to be like, well, why can't that save us? And for us who look at it all the time, we understand that what we have given already pulls from that fund, and we have to have a certain amount to
Right.
contain that for the next 50, 60 years as these people go through the system.
The $500 that we give in the fall is about $1.6 million.
And that will count towards our credit.
If we choose to do that, it will count toward that.
That counts toward our credit. Does that mean that we only then have, this is not what I want to do.
1,500
but 1,500 would then be
1,500 for the
Right.
2,000 and 500 for the
I'd
1,000.
like to avoid that if possible.
Right.
You know, it's like we gave them the 500 as a, let me get to that point.
Yes.
When we were looking for a way, if I remember correctly, to give our employees more money because the EFID balance was healthy at that time. So we came up, some people got a percentage and some people got the $500, actually, everybody got the $500
Right.
stipend.
Right.
Now, that being said, the 2,000 is probably more important than the 500. It's more, number one. And number two, it's kind of become an expectation. The 500 was a way for us to make the EFID balance work and pass on the money that we were collecting, that the taxpayers approved, to the staff, but not necessarily a promise. So I just feel like if we had to dip into the EFID maybe 1 year and hope to God it's a 1 year thing, and hope that that balance starts to increase and go back over the 4 million, because like you said, prices aren't going down, therefore nor is sales tax. So anyway, I think it's worth like digging into that, see if we can borrow $1 million from it, because that'll close the gap some. And then Mr. Mingus has a question too, but before we get to that, I feel like we've done this in the last couple of years too, but do we have any surplus land or property that we've been holding on to for 30, 40 years? Can we get an inventory of that to see if that's something we can shed, you know, to kind of close the gap as well? All right, Mr. Mingus.
Now, I was, just want you to reiterate again what you said about if they're taking the 5%, they're not giving it to us, they're putting it in the bucket. Then if they're not going to give us the money till May, hopefully, then we're not giving any bonus, any check, anything until we get the money, correct?
Right.
So we're not going to like upfront it and then wait for it to come back. Okay. So, because the people will be waiting. And then if we have to.
That's why I want to communicate it. Don't
Right.
expect this 2,000
Yeah,
and
until-
1,000 in October like has been done, because the state does not have the money to give us until they hold it back from us. And we don't have the money to front that.
But at this point, we do have the money to give the $500 in the fall. But you said it was going to go under 4, so I thought we had agreed and said our policy was
This
not.
year, it was if there's 4 on June 30th. We
Okay.
have 4.
Okay.
So this year, because 4 wasn't the number we didn't want to go below.
Yeah.
We
Right.
we didn't want to go below about 2.5. And so that gives us, you know, if we hit 3, then we're good. But I don't know that we'll have a 5, unless we have a major change in revenue, we won't have another 500 in 27.
So at the beginning of the year, according to our salary schedule, we give the step. Are we still set to give the step coming, beginning of school and the $500? And then we'll just figure out what we're going to do come May with all of the cuts that we maybe can make. Have we gotten any information about what it's going to cost us for our retirement or our health insurance numbers?
Retirement went down about 2%.
Okay.
We have not gotten the health, because that's January. It's gone up. And another thing that's happened to us just financially, if you don't mind, I'll expand a little. When the gap insurance was added as part of our OPEB insurance, and you remember locally, great decision to get this gap insurance for the employees. The OPEB didn't like it, and school boards got hit with a 12% rate increase. Not everybody. They made a new class called school boards, and we got hit with a 12%, a 6.2, a 6.2, and I'm going to say they're probably going to hit us with a 6.2 again this year if they can. The other thing that they do that's really hitting us hard is, let's say today I'm on the school board insurance and I have my family, and it's $1,000. It cost me $250. It costs the school board $750. The day I retire, OPEB puts me in a retirement class and adds $1,100 a month to that premium. But it's not still split 75-25. I keep paying $250, and now the school system's paying $1,850 a month for retiree. You're talking about a $12,000 to $15,000 increase as soon as somebody retires on the school system. So we're getting to the point where we're paying more health insurance for retirees than we are for active employees. That was another thing that I brought up to the legislature, is like, hey, is there something that can be done with this OPEB? Because you're not really doing it based on their age. You're just saying the moment they retire, you're hitting us with another $14,000 to $15,000 a year per employee, per retiree.
So when you're saying, Jeff, that we're going to have to cut back on things, is this something like we're going to have to not look at phase 3? Are we going to have to cut back on things that we want to do for phase 3?
I think phase 3 for sure needs to be on hold. We weren't going to do anything but have maybe architects begin working on it, because phase 3 was going to be money spent in 2028. But nobody can tell me today, are we going to have to come up with $6 million again next year? And the only place that we can really come up with is taking more money out of that facility tax to pay salaries and expenses.
And I just want to say one thing about the step thing. And look, I know it's going to be, it's not something we got to decide tonight. I know it's a tough decision. That's going to affect some of the lowest paid guys we have on staff. I mean, some of these custodians and cafeteria workers, that's what they rely on for their bump. I mean, we're taking from the lowest. I know it's going to go across for everybody, but those are the ones that are going to hit the most impact, and they're already hit hard. I just want to make sure that's said before these discussions move forward for STEP. But man, I've said this for a while now, that we were going to have some financial issues here in Tangipahoa in the next few years, and this next school board is going to be inheriting this problem. I said this 5 months ago, and here we are.
It is not a financial problem of our creation.
That's what I was going to say. It's not Tangipahoa Center school system.
Yeah,
It's
no,
the
it's
state's
not.
problem.
But we saw the writing on the wall, the way the legislative was going with MFP and the federal government with their grants being cut off. This was coming, and now we're reaping. Thank goodness we're in a financial situation we are, because there are some way worse than us, because we usually go on the side of caution for our staff. I'm not taking a shot at our board, because we've done a great job, but this is something that we knew was coming. The way the politics were being played throughout the country and through the state, we knew this was eventually going to be happening, and unfortunately it's happened now, and I feel bad for this next board that's going to have to make those decisions, again, with like phase 3 constructions and things that are absolutely necessary to our students and staff because of a governor and our representatives being tied. It's really sad.
Just jump on that real quick. So I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but they're widening 3 bridges along I-12 so that they can 3-lane all the way from where the 3-lane ends, which I believe is right before Satsuma, to the Tangipahoa Parish line. I'd argue it needs to go all the way through to St. Tammany. But anyway, that's for another day. But $60 million to widen 3 bridges. And the state's paying a whole bunch of that. It's almost like they should have maybe put that project on hold 1 more year so we can pay our teachers, the ones that are preparing our youth to become taxpayers. So anyway, it just feels like our priorities aren't straight. The reason I'm mentioning that, the likelihood of our congressmen here in this state going to bat for us in Washington, is that something that we should be focused on to kind of fill in the shortfall?
I would always say talk to your elected officials. I don't know how much. I don't think any of the MFP money is federal money.
This ain't the federal problem.
It's our state sales tax.
Should we get somebody to fight at the federal level, since we have a governor that's unwilling to?
Yeah, I do know this. The MFP actually had a $50 million surplus this year, because whenever they budget, they say Tangipahoa Parish, we think you're going to have 18,500 students, and they budget based on that per student. And then in October and in February, we give them actual numbers, and they say, oh, you only had 18,000 students. So the MFP for those 500 students is taken back by the state. So that's a surplus in the MFP fund. The entire surplus for each of the last 5 years has been transferred to the state general fund and reappropriated, instead of it coming back into the MFP fund and saying, oh, well, we need to increase how much we're paying. And guess how much it was? $200 million. Wow. So $168 million could have been found for a teacher pay raise just based on the money that has been created as the MFP surplus each year.
Sounds like they needed Jeff McNeely.
Do we as a public board, I know it's now been signed into law, but I know under certain codes and guidelines, if enough municipalities can argue, is there something we can go to bat legally for this? As far as if we got multiple school boards involved? I know that the Supreme Court kind of heard some of it because of a temporary pause.
So my understanding of that, and if you want to ask an attorney, you can file suit over anything. My understanding is that school districts around the state were contacted or maybe talked about, and maybe nobody really had a stomach to file suit against the governor. The suit that was filed was not thrown out because of the basis of the suit. It was that the attorneys that were representing the plaintiffs also represented the governor in another case, and so they had a conflict of interest, and so the suit had to be thrown out. And then what I read was the plaintiffs chose not to hire another firm and proceed.
My biggest worry is what you said, is this is not a one-year deal. There's school systems out there that we've met, that we've worked with, that are not going to be able to continue with this structure. I mean, you're talking about a lot of layoffs and a lot of issues and for a state that screams we want people here and we want to build, our workforce, we're not really doing a good job screwing our education department.
Just to add to that, Mr. Piaz, I talked to a superintendent today in this region who they're going to be having conversations on their list of areas to save money is closing schools.
I believe it.
And consolidating. And I was talking to a couple superintendents at the conference, and the same conversation, because they're not in the position that we're in. We're going to have to make some cuts and we're going to have to trim some things, but at least the conversation is not about closing schools. So.
Was it St. Landry closed seven schools? They had an $18 million deficit before this.
And that's ridiculous. It's like I said, it's a very sad day to have this conversation, especially in Tangipahoa. But just as a statewide thing, it's really, really sad. And that's why I ask about the legal part of it. Is when you're talking about a draft thing across the state, there's got to be some other loophole or some kind of appeal or some kind of something that I would love for us to. Again, we talk about all the time being the spearhead for a lot of things with our policies and our procedures. This is sad. This is really, really sad.
All right. Well, I guess we'll continue to think about this as a board. If you have any ideas, of course, probably email you. I guess would be the right move on that. Okay, we're going to move to item F, which is consider approval to allow administration to enter into a cooperative agreement with the town of Roseland regarding a potential land donation or exchange to accommodate teacher parking. Mr. Toller, I'm going to give you the table on this.
Yeah, and I will keep this short because I know we're got a lot on our agenda that we've been covering. I do want to give you a quick update. Unfortunately, Roseland did not choose to come tonight, but just to catch the board up and the public on what we're talking about here. Roseland Elementary School, Montessori School at downtown Roseland. Showing the pictures here now. Just go ahead and go to that first one if you don't mind, just one at a time. This is the property across the street from Roseland. This has been going on for the last year. And we started having problems with this over the last year. We've had our attorney, Mr. Andre Kudran's here, answer any questions y'all have. But this is a lot or two lots across the street from our school. We own, if you look at the pictures to your right, you'll see the property, according to the parish, we own the small square with the building in it. The city owns the L shape around our property. So there's two lots across the street. We currently use it, if you look at the one to the left, we use it for teacher parking. We do not have any other options for parking at Roseland. We already use the church's parking lot across from us that does not belong to us, but this, we own the lot where the building is, and then we have a lease until April of 2030 for that L shape from the city, a legal lease that is filed at the courthouse. So when the city came to us with a very good plan of putting a community center there, our first discussion with them was, well, we like the project, but we need to be guaranteed parking for our teachers. So we need an agreement from us to the city of Roseland so that we can find an agreement to support your project, but maintaining parking for our teachers because they want both lots. So we have talked to them by the phone. We have talked to them by text, we have talked to them by email, and we all met out, a lot of us met out there with them at the site, with the mayor and with everybody. And once again, we acknowledge we want to help you with your project, but we have to secure parking in this project. So will parking be available during construction? Will parking be available after construction? All these questions, and we needed them as one member. I think there were several of us there, but we couldn't make a decision on behalf of the board. So we repeatedly asked them to come to our school board meeting and let's enter an agreement, because we're willing to donate our property to the project as long as we can get our parking. So that has fallen on deaf ears several times last year. We had chains put across our driveways because they wanted to start construction. We removed the chains. We went back to them, said, look, this is our property. There's a way of doing this, but you have to come meet us. So moving into, on the 11th, they sent us a letter saying that they were ready to start demoing our building. And we said, no, you can't demo our building because we haven't reached an agreement yet. They demoed the building. You'll see the Facebook post there, and I think we shared it with some of y'all, the Facebook post. The contractor actually started selling the lumber, our building, off our property without our consent. Now, today, you see the last picture, they have now put piles of dirt, construction, and fenced off both our entrances. So in 3 weeks, we have teachers that will be showing up, and that we have no place for our teachers to park on our land. After repeatedly asking the city to work with us and that we would work with them. So in the meantime, we have, and just to catch you up to date on what we've done, we have sent a complaint to the sheriff's department because this is theft of public property. That's under investigation currently. Talked to the sheriff and the DA this afternoon. Both of those things are being progressed forward. And then now that the fences have come up and now that we have totally lost our parking on our land and also on our leased land, what I'm asking to do is, well, some of the things that we need is we need the area immediately opened up, fences down. We need the area returned to a parking lot so that we could use that moving forward. We need somebody to pay our legal fees because this is getting outrageous that we're having to pay our attorneys to explain to them what the law is about ownership of land. And then we need them to come and work with us to come up with an agreement. That's all we've asked from the very beginning. We know as a board, we're willing to help one of our municipalities with a project, but we have to have an agreement. So with that being said, what I'm asking is I'd like to make a motion to authorize the superintendent to file an emergency TRO against the city of Roseland and to take all necessary steps to secure our teachers' parking area at Roseland. That is the motion. And obviously time is of the essence, which is why Andre's here. He can answer the legal questions better than I can. And when the city comes back and they complain and say this is their lot, just to quickly say, there was a reversal clause in the original deed from years ago that said if we ever stop using that lot for school purpose, it would revert back to the city. Their claim is that we're not using it for a school, but we're using it for a school purpose. Parking is a school purpose.
And they're parking there currently? Like
Yes.
Last year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So, just being said, that is null and void in our opinion. And even if we didn't have a school purpose, there are legal steps that you have to go through to transfer the deed before. So I don't know how they got a permit. I don't know if they checked anything for asbestos. There could be asbestos left in the dirt by our school ground that our kids are going to walk through on the way to school. So there's a lot of questions there. Do they have a permit? Did they legally? So anyway, I'll turn it over to you if you have any other questions. But that is my motion, and I'll give you a copy of it. Amanda, if you want to. Like a second so we can get it on
I'm
the
gonna
floor.
second the motion.
Okay.
All right, so we got a motion by Mr. Tolan and a second by Mr. Westmoreland. And Mr. Andre, do you have anything you want to add?
No, the motion would include any action that would be necessary.
action
TRO, whatever action we might be necessary to secure the parking. That's been what we've said from day one. We need to secure permanent parking on the site. I'm happy to answer any additional question. You did a good job giving us a summary.
I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, time is of the essence because 3 weeks, we're going to have teachers pulling up there with no place to park. It looks as though it's an easy, quick fix. as long as we move timely. So, that being said, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we can.
I believe, one more thing.
Yeah.
With proper planning, once again, let me make sure we state this. I support Roseland doing a community center here. We want to see that happen. If they got a grant to do this, we want to support it. But I also believe that we can coexist. I believe you can do construction on these 2 lots by leaving enough space for us to park 25 cars on one side while they do their construction. And then make sure that the parking lots are big enough to support our parking during the day while they use the parking at night. So, but we can't make anything if nobody will
This
come.
clear violation, though, you still want to go into a cooperative agreement with somebody who clearly doesn't care?
Have they presented a plan that includes a parking lot, of the layout of the?
No, but we have put in a public information request for all documents related to this project, which we shouldn't have to do.
No.
We should be friendly enough to walk in here together and come up with an agreement. But apparently,
We have asked for those documents very early on, haven't received it, so I made a public records request to the town of Roseland to get that information. I did speak with the town clerk, and she is assembling all those documents.
I mean, I don't think we have this issue with any other municipalities that we work with throughout the parish. Like I said, the reason why I'm asking is because it says consider approval to allow administration to enter into a cooperative agreement. I don't think we should enter in anything.
well, the plan was they were coming tonight.
Okay.
We invited them to come, present their plans so the board could come up with an agreement that our attorney would draw up.
Okay.
And let me say this, I wouldn't foreclose a cooperative endeavor agreement with the town. That is certainly the preferred method of resolving this. A cooperative endeavor allows them to proceed with their project, gives us permanent secured parking. I would like to think that's still an option, but today, tomorrow, that's not going to happen. We're going to have to be more aggressive in what we're doing to be sure we're securing the parking.
I just want to make sure that an agreement is not going to be reached without the board's approval
Absolutely not.
after this.
Yeah, we'll have the final say.
Okay. That being said, Ms. Ametta, can we call for a vote, please?
Mr. Anthony,
Yes.
Mr. Westmoreland,
Yes.
Miss Abrams, Ms.
She had to leave.
Dominguez,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Piazza,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Toller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and I'll report the superintendent with the lawsuit and any other action that we think is necessary to secure that parking.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to item 5, superintendent reports and recommendation. Item A is our alternative education updates.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have some slides I wanted to show on the enhancements to the alternative site at the Crystal Street campus, and I'm asking Ms. Amanda to pull that up. And I want to first start by saying that, the whole idea of improving or enhancing the alternative program at Crystal Street is based on feedback from our principal advisory that I meet with on a regular basis, and also our parents and students that have actually, that we've interacted with on appeals that have come before us. And so I want to start on the next slide talking about the proactive measures, just to remind everyone and remind the public of all the things that we do in all of our schools to prevent students from going to alternative placement at the Crystal Street site, including the very last bullet, which is all of our high schools have a school-based alternative education program on their campus, and that will continue. So these are all things that our schools do to try to keep students on their home campus instead of being placed at the alternative site. You can go to the next slide. The next slide looks at, I have a paper here. The next slide talks, just reviewing why students are placed at the AE site at Crystal Street. Number one, they're placed there by a discipline review committee. We call it the DRC. I think we're all familiar with that. And it's in lieu of expulsion. So, previously kids were expelled from school, which means they had no academics at all, and they were expelled for a period of time. We, however, our goal is to have them in school and in a program, help them learn from their mistake or bad judgment, and then return back to their home school at some point. The other thing is that the students that are at the alternative site are there for severe discipline referrals. I think they call them fours. I think they're fours, level 4 on the code of conduct. And that is they have a weapon. It could be a knife or a gun, a weapon, drugs. Many times it's a vape pen that has tested positive for drugs. Sometimes it's drugs. Or group fights. So these are the typical things. Most of the kids there are for group fights, and I would say followed by drugs or vape pens that have tested positive for drugs. The last one just says that some students are placed there due to excessive discipline referrals at the school after numerous interventions that we talked about on that previous slide. So, and there's actually state law that talks about removing students from the campus who have I'm talking about like 10, 15, 18 referrals for disturbing the school, the safety of the school, or the classroom. So there are a very few there for those reasons. The next slide is the goals for the improvements, enhancement of the accelerated program, alternative education program, our placement there. These are the main goals. And again, these goals were developed based on the feedback from our school principals, our parents, and our students that have been placed or referred to go to the alternative placement at Crystal. The first thing we want to ensure in our enhancement or improvement is we want to have all certified teachers who are highly qualified in their content area. For instance, they're certified math teachers, or core teachers, and they're also using the Tier 1 curriculum. And some of the feedback we've heard from our parents and students is they'll say things to us in appeals like they don't have the same courses, they don't have the same level, it's not the same classes that I have on my home campus, those type of things. So in this overhaul, it would ensure that kids have, number one, certified teachers, and they're experts in their content area. The second thing is we want to make sure that students stay on track for graduation. And so the feedback that I've had from high school principals is that they sometimes will get students back from the alternative site that are not on track, and they're seniors. So they have to work to try to get them on track so they can graduate. I think we recently had a student in appeals that talked about taking Edgenuity, a course on Edgenuity to try to get caught up so they could graduate. Edgenuity is not a Tier 1 high-quality curriculum, and it's not a real teacher teaching. It's more they read the material online and then they do the assignments and submit them. So that is not optimum for students. They need to have teachers teaching them direct instruction. The third goal for this is, of course, we want to make sure that students are getting the social, emotional, and behavior supports that are aligned to why they're there in the first place. So if it was a drug-related issue, we want to make sure that they're getting those supports for that. And sometimes it may require family counseling. And if they're there for weapons or aggression, we want to make sure that they're getting that support while they're there. And so we want to beef that up as well. The fourth thing that's listed here is we want to make sure that students have a good transition from the alternative site to the home-based school and vice versa when it's time for them to return. And one of the things that's been a problematic this past year, or maybe 2 years, has been that we have our DRC meetings on 2 days a week. So if a student is referred by the school because they've had drugs, weapons, or a group fight, the DRC may be delayed a week or two before they actually get in front of a DRC. That's lost instructional time. So one of the things we're going to do this year is the DRC meetings, first of all, will be held at Crystal Street. It will be a consistent committee that's hearing those hearings for DRC. And if the committee decides that the student is to be placed in the alternative program, the parent is there, they've already taken off work, and they can go over and do the orientation and get started right then. So there's no delay in academic services. The other thing is we're going to have the DRCs every day. So in the past year or so, we've had them 2 days a week, which backs up, and then kids lose some instructional time, academics. So we want to make sure that we're doing them every day so that it's a fast process. There's no time that they're sitting at home waiting for their DRC, and then mom has to take off or dad has to take off again to take them to the alternative site to get started. You don't have all that. All of that will be cleaned up and will be a smoother transition. So that's what we're talking about there. And then the last thing, one of the goals, is we want families to have options. We want them to have an option for alternative education placement. So one of the things we've heard when they come for appeals is the parents will ask us if they can be full virtual, if they can do it virtually, because they don't want them at the site. Other parents, want them to be at the site. So what we want to do in this process is give parents choices for their students on what works for their family. So if you go to the next slide, the first choice is if a student has a DRC and they're at Crystal Street for the DRC, and the parent and the committee says yes, alternative placement, then they would literally walk across the hall or go to the next hall, wherever that's located, and then a case manager would ask, okay, let's talk about what's best for your child and your family. They have the first option is that they would attend every day at Crystal Street for both academic instruction and counseling, their mental health piece. They're in person, on site, every day. The second option is a blended model. And the blended model means that they would be on site, face-to-face for several days, 2 days, 3 days, and then they would be virtual at home 2 days or 3 days. Usually they rotate weeks. So that's another option for them. Even there, the virtual at home is not it's not Edgenuity. They're not going to be just doing assignments on the computer. They're going to have a schedule, and they're going to be logging in and participating in the teacher teaching math or whatever content on the computer, and they have to log in and participate in that. So you have a blended model, and then the last option that families have here is a full virtual. They don't want to come into the facility at all. They want to do full virtual for academic and counseling. However, in this choice, they're still going to be required to come in for scheduled in-person interventions and check-ins and also counseling at the Crystal Street location. But that's the first decision that a family would have to make, this, is which model. Now, I will say this, that if a family chooses the last option, which is full virtual, and the student is not progressing academically, then they're moving up to the blended model, where they're coming in person for several days, 2 to 3 days a week. Or they may move up to where it's not going to be a choice, because we're not going to allow a kid to get behind academically, or if they're not meeting their counseling sessions and things like that. So even though they start off with the choice of full virtual, if it doesn't work for that family, for that child, they will be A meeting, of course, will be held with their case manager, and they'll be moved up so that they're there more in person, whether it's several days a week or if it's every day. That decision will be made. So the first thing is they get choices. On the next slide, which I think will reduce a lot of the appeal stuff that you guys see as well, because, a lot of times they do come, and that's what they want. They want to do virtual. Of course, the other option is they still have that home-based alternative placement at their high school or their junior high. On the academic side is scheduled direct instruction by teachers. There's a schedule that students are given. For instance, if they do the blended or the full virtual, the teachers teach through Zoom, so it's active teaching, not read this and do this assignment. It's not that mode. It is Tier 1 curriculum, so it's what the curriculum would be if they were in their home-based school. The high school course catalog is able to be, it's expanded because we can offer many of the same electives that they have at their high school. So for high school students, they may have an elective at their high school, and previously when they went to the AE site, they couldn't do that elective. They had to take something else. This way, there's way more electives that match what they were doing at their high school, and which helps continue them on their graduation path so they can get the courses they need so that they can graduate on time as scheduled. There'll also be office hours held where students will receive individualized support from their teachers. So it's not just like they're doing assignments, but they have real direct, and then they have intervention and, as Mr. Jenko says, tutoring hours, office hours. Some people call it office hours or tutoring hours. And there's also 6 jumpstart pathways that are offered in this improvement, this enhancement, with credentials that will get them job ready, workforce ready. And that's an expansion from what we previously had. So we're trying to, in this revamp, we're really trying to make sure, really the number one thing is academics, and making sure they're on path, and making sure that their schedules are not different than what they would have at their high school, and that they have the tutoring and the help and all those components still there. All right, on the next slide, this is about the social, emotional, behavioral supports, and similarly, they have a counselor that works on whatever the situation they're there for. We want to utilize the RKM counselors, have a counselor that's assigned there through RKM, and then also Southeast Community Health System have a person that's assigned just to the task or the alternative site at Crystal Street, and then other services that are identified by case managers. For instance, if there's an anger regulation, there's an issue with the student on regulating their emotions, there'll be specific things that they can do that their case managers will help assign and get them into for those type of things. So I think that the social, emotional, behavioral support side of things are also stronger in this model as well. Case managers is that's a change. We have not had case managers. This is something that Mr. Duncan has mentioned several years ago about having case managers that ensure that every student completes both the academic piece. So it's sort of a check and balance, so it's not just the teachers, but there are case managers that monitor and make sure that they're on target with they help develop their academic plan and also their behavior plan, and they also monitor it to make sure it's happening. They're like the checkpoint, the check piece, the check and balance. The case manager is essential in ensuring that students stay on track, that they are attendance. Right now, attendance at the alternative site is below 50% attendance rate for the students. And, principals have complained that students are not attending. They don't attend all the time that they're supposed to be there. So the case managers are another mechanism to ensure attendance and engagement, and that they're completing and on target with both their academic plan and their behavior plan. They also help with the transition into the alternative setting and then back to the homeschool when that time comes. So the case managers are a key piece that will assist in just really making sure that kids are on track and that they're progressing. They also can assist in knowing when a student needs to move to a higher degree of in-person, or maybe a student needs to have more of the office hour times, or those kinds of things for interventions. I think the next slide.
That's it.
Yeah, so I think, click on the next slide. Isn't there one more? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, but if you look at that, you can go back to the goal page. Yeah, that's it. These are the main 5 things that are the shift, or the what I call enhancements, because it's not saying that some of these things were not in place, but it's actually enhancing them to make them better, so that we have less loss of instructional time between DRC, hearings, and placement. Families have choices. Families don't have to take off work multiple times to, try to get kids to the DRC, and then they take off again to take them to the alternative program to do the orientation there. That can be taken care of at the same time. Of course, students who either are there every day, if that family makes that choice that they're there every day, have bus transportation as they had before. They have meals. If they're there 2 days a week or 3 days a week, they have transportation, they have meals. So that's basically the change that we're looking to implement in August at the alternative site, and I'll take any questions the board might have.
So Melissa, the instructions are gonna come from the virtual,
The direct instruction will come from.
even the kids who are in face-to-face?
Yeah, so if the family chooses that first option, which is I want my child to go every single day, like maybe it could be a situation that, there's no one home to supervise, or maybe just the family just wants the child to go to school every day. We have, there's 4 certified teachers that were at task at the alternative site before. There were only 4 out of the 30 that was there that are certified at the end of the year. And so we're going to take those 4 and put them in classrooms for real face-to-face. But those individuals are not experts in content area like geometry, algebra 1, maths. Some of the courses in high school are very content specific and rich. So their direct instruction will come from the direct instruction from a virtual teacher through Zoom. But those individuals will be in that room to redirect them, assist them, help, explain those type of things when it's courses that require content-rich people to teach it, because they don't have that expertise.
Is that coming from the home-based site, or is that coming from our virtual program?
It's the direct instruction from high-quality certified teachers in their core are coming from the virtual teachers that we already have.
Right.
So.
But not the home-based site?
So
not
just to
gonna be
give you,
required?
no, not home-based, it's
Okay.
from the virtual teachers. So just to give you an idea of the from personnel, there's roughly about 30 people that were at task. There's about 10 that we're gonna keep there because either they have what I call the initials behind their name because they're counselors or those type of things, and the certified teachers. And then the bulk of the instruction will come from that we have of our virtual teachers that are content specialists in their area. And then the other teachers that were at task that, either maybe they were mentors or maybe they did other things, they were, taught, those have been absorbed into other schools, as, what I'm told, that they've already been picked up by other schools and have other positions.
So, and I don't know if Mr. Moore's complete or not. I got a few, and I can email you majority of them, but the main things I'm more concerned about is there have been some cases that we've heard that they have pleaded for online. And we as a board agreed that that wasn't in best interest of the child. Maybe the home site wasn't whatever, and the parent just didn't want to deal with the transportation and all that. Is there going to be a requirement from the DRC that's there that can assess that and say, well, I don't think the virtual is going to be good for your child, even if that's not, like, is there going to be a requirement that these parents have to meet in order to even put their kid into virtual? So, in other words, like, are we offering these three options for everybody and we don't have a choice if they choose it? Or can we say, hey, we feel you have the tools necessary to educate these children at home? Because that has been an issue in the past.
Yeah, I think that the DRC can make that recommendation or have an opinion about that. I think it's a conversation between the case manager and the parent. And again, if the parent chooses a full virtual model or the blended, we will move that child and require them to go full in person. If they're not attending, they're not logging into the schedule, because they actually have a schedule that they have to log into a live Zoom with a teacher teaching. And if they're
How long
not,
is that being monitored?
and if they're not doing, that's why the case managers are very important here too. Because, they have to, and we can get weekly reports.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, is it going to be like, hey,
Yeah, it'll be a
in the
weekly
first 2
report.
weeks we don't see him, he's
Yeah,
going?
it's a weekly report. There's a lot more accountability in attendance and engagement for the students than what we've had before.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If I could make a suggestion, well, number one, to answer your question, I'm not answering it, but I'm telling you what I've seen before. We've seen the DRC recommend for long-term exclusionary discipline, full virtual. We've also seen them do swamp or on-site alternative placement. That being said, though, sometimes they'll assign them to task when they come here, and as an appeal, the board will look at that and be like, this kid would be a good candidate for virtual. He's got a grandmother that's at home with him every day that can monitor it. So it's almost like we need, if the case manager is going to make the ultimate decision, they almost need to have like a rubric that says, is there going to be an adult present, something like that.
And the virtual teachers already have that. Like, there's a series of questions that they would ask the parent. And, sometimes there may be issues with connectability. And even though we have workarounds for providing Wi-Fi and things like that, there could be a connectability issue. There's a series of questions that they ask before they just sign a kid up for, if they want to do the virtual.
Yeah. Transportation might be a question that you ask it, like how easily can you get to a
There's a
communal bus stop?
questionnaire they sit down and talk to the parent about.
My biggest worry is, like, there's been some cases we've had where a parent has requested it, and really there should have been a FINS report filed because there were some other things going on that was clearly obvious in the whole situation, and we've denied those because we had it within our authority because they were assigned to the permanent site. But if we go to this model, we don't have that in our pocket anymore. Now they have an option to say, hey, I want to go full virtual, and unless we have some guidelines or some bumpers, as they say in bowling, to stop them from going that direction that we could have caught early. That's my only question. Are they going to have some form of a screening there to where we can say, well, hold up, is mom really doing this in best interest of the child, or is she doing it in best interest of herself and her household because she doesn't want too much involvement in the household? Because we've had that a few times, and it's far and in between. Like Mr. Anthony had said, they had some that came here and the kids were great candidates for online, and I think those were good decisions. But some have come to argue that when really the home environment wasn't there And now we're going to have to, if the whole goal is to get them with easy transitions, you also don't want to fail that kid to where now they're missing 2 or 3 weeks before we catch it to say, hey, we need you to come back to the full thing, because now they're even further behind in that goal as well. That's my only.
I think that's why the case managers are critical.
Right.
Because they're going to be the checkpoint.
Are those new positions, or those
No,
people
those,
we
well, it's people that have been there.
Okay.
But we're repurposing them to do the management of the cases and to ensure, like they would do the FINS referrals, and get them in front of the court system and those kinds of things.
And I will iterate again, and I've said it before in multiple meetings, is we have pathways for peer mediation for fighters, for people with aggression. I would love for us to have a pathway for drugs and things as well within these, since we're revamping and we're making these new things. I think we have a lot of kids, and it's starting earlier and earlier, that are having issues with drug-related issues, like vapes with marijuana, just regular vapes in general. That should be a pathway if we're going to send a kid. And we had a parent say it before in a DRC appeal. My kid's not here for fighting, but they're going to peer mediation every single day or every so many days.
Should be the track in which they're there for.
Correct.
The reason that they're
Correct.
there should be the track.
Correct.
And also, I think there's some community agencies that, like TADAC,
Yes.
and others that we can tap into as well with resources that can help, like for instance, if it's a vaping issue but it has to be, that's why in here it mentions individualized plan. It has to be a plan developed for the academic side, and with a schedule, and then also with the counseling side. And the reason for the plan is so that you don't get this, everybody's just going to peer mediation, when actually I'm not here for that, I'm here for something else. So that's where that individualized plan comes into place.
And then my last one, will the case managers have the authority to hold a kid in the program if they're not meeting expectations?
Yes. So, yes.
Because they got to have some kind of authority.
I mean, in my opinion, they should have at least 90% attendance, 95% attendance and engagement in order to complete the program. And unless there's some kind of medical issue that they have been out, that's a doctor's excuse type thing.
What about a grade requirement? Is it going to have that too, like their academics?
Well,
Like if they're substantially not meeting, like they started here with an F and they are still maintaining that F, they're not even engaging in instruction.
well, yeah, they would have to be in person, after about a week of that. If they're not keeping up, they're not engaging, they're not logging in or whatever, they would have to be in person. So I think we can catch that early.
Right.
And not get to the point where they're failing the class.
Mr. Sutler, some of the questions, and I listed them that I've been asked by people in the community was, was the rationale for the changes, and where is the data that supports the rationale now? So many students who opt out and who opt into virtual. Is the current model failing, or is it happening to accommodate the loss of teachers? In other words,
Well,
in other words, I think they were referring to the accolades that the system got from the state.
Well, I know that the AE site at one time had a higher percent of certified teachers. And it's difficult to get the certified teachers in their content area at that site. But really, it's the feedback that we're getting from the principals that are telling us of the problematic issues that they're seeing when kids come back in terms of their grades, in terms of the academic loss. And then also, the data is that we know kids have lost academic time of instruction due to the way that the DRC was set up 2 days a week and those type of things. So it's really based on what our people has been telling us, what they're saying are the real issues that they're finding with the students with transitioning back and staying on track for graduation, as well as our parents, our students. The attendance data, that's a hard number that comes out of the system. You know, when you have low attendance at the site already, you know, that could be for a couple reasons. So, you know, by giving those options to families, I think it would be my hope that we increase participation and engagement for students that are placed there.
And I do want to make a point that I'm very happy that a virtual option is being offered, especially for my northern counterparts up there, because I've said it time and time again, it's got to be extremely hard to get a kid from Kentwood to Hammond every single day if you're a working parent. And I know we do transportation and stuff, but it's still very difficult for them not to come to the meetings and enroll and do the counseling. That's very hard for a northern person. So hopefully that helps without us having to build a physical campus on the north end. That takes away that burden there. But
2 hours a day travel.
I'm sure.
2 hours a day.
I used to
of
travel to
learning.
A-Meet every day, and it was an hour and some minutes there and an hour and some minutes
I
back.
mean, you know, like with anything, you know, I feel like it's a process in which you see issues, you come up with a solution to try to address those issues. I mean, I know that there'll be in October, September, November, whatever, we'll say, you know, this is an issue. So how do we solve this issue? So, I mean, I don't think we're going to do this and it's going to be perfect in August and September. I think it's an ongoing process. I don't think anybody anywhere has a solution for alternative education programs because it is a tough population because they're there for drugs, weapons, aggression, and it's hard to get certified teachers to go there. If you have a choice of teaching in a school that has all kinds of kids and you're, you know, they're going to go there before they go to an alternative site. So we know that the virtual teachers do an excellent job in teaching their content areas. So we thought that this might be a way to ensure that these kids are getting the best instruction and also the family choice. I mean, I'm an advocate. I think families need to have choices. You know, people think that, you know, I'm anti-private school or charter school. I mean, I don't particularly like charters, but I think families should have those choices. If they want to try the full virtual, sometimes they got to try it to know it's not going to work. And, you know, sometimes you got to allow them to kind of, you know, experience that for themselves before they realize that, you know, it's not going to work for their child. Other times it may work perfectly.
So are the virtual teachers, are they getting like additional training to deal with like the culturally responsive issues that these kids are going to be, because they're going to be teaching a different attitude of student. I mean, students being remanded to the alternative site are being put there because they're already facing cultural issues.
Mm-hmm.
So are these teachers going to be able to
The
deal with
teachers,
that?
you know, Dr. Stump, she oversees the virtual teachers, and, you know, they're 100% on board, and she's going to provide what they need to be responsive to the kids. But also, I don't want to label kids for the teachers. I want them to treat all students the same, and so that's why we don't want to get into say, oh, this is a virtual student, but oh, this is a student that's at the AE site, so they're treated a little differently. They should be treated the same, and they're going to be in classes together virtually, right? So a teacher is, you know, I just think we have to be careful about pre-labeling kids who may be just fine in a virtual classroom with students and the teacher. And if we think that there's going to be a problem because they're placing the alternative, I think, is labeling.
Yeah, and I really wasn't speaking about labeling. I'm just speaking about disposition, attitudes. You know, I mean, kids are being put there, some of them are going to be discontented.
And they also do, they have a class that they do that's scheduled that every student has to take, that is a interactive character education, you know, character strong, that's social emotional learning. So they also make sure that every child has that as well. That's, whoever's in virtual gets that, and if they're taking virtual classes. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I keep interrupting. I just wanted to make a quick point because I think that was a good question Mr. Moore asked. One thing that we're not considering when we're talking about alternative education is that every student that gets assigned there is as different as the students that are still going to their regular campus. Just because you got assigned to alternative education does not mean you're a troubled student. It means you made a mistake. So unless those people are habitually making mistakes, then in that case, they're going to need more intervention. These kids are just as mixed as any other student body. So I think having a hybrid plan where there's different ways that they can receive their education is smart, as opposed to saying, let's stick 300 kids in this school with 300 different types of problems. It's like, let's have a choice for them. Let's make them have, some choices that they can make that fits their family and that gets them an education and gets them across the graduation stage, with success. So anyway, I like the idea of mixing it up. And again, because it's not the same type of student that's going to be at that campus. So, yeah.
Anyway, we're going to be attending the second Saturday breakfast Saturday, and doing this presentation as well and answering any questions from the public who's there. So,
I have one comment. I don't want you to really go into it tonight because I know you're still in the throes of getting this together, but you mentioned that the DRCs would be once a week and...
No, every day.
Every day. But the way it's been done before, it was like basically on the campus with the people who were involved, the principal or the disciplinarian or whoever, and some other folks. So that's something that I would like to hear more about later. Because, if you're just having one committee, or is it going to be not the principal that was at that campus, or, it's just a lot.
The principal or the disciplinarian who's handling the situation would either Zoom in or come there, would go there to present what happened, their investigation and all that. But I'm talking about the committee members that are hearing the DRC would be
Okay.
consistent. And it wouldn't be pulling our principals all the time.
Okay, that's
from
what
their
because
campuses.
it was.
So Melissa, I'm sorry. Melissa, are you going to be making a presentation on Saturday?
I'm going to be out of town, but we're going to have the A-team here, which is our assistant superintendents, and Dr. Fussell.
Oh, Dr. Fussell?
Dr. Fussell, Mr. Jenko, and Gary's be there, Mr. Porter.
My biggest thing is accountability, and I preach that every day. I think I've said that the last 4 years I've been on this board. That is my only thing that I think that program for revamping really needs to center around is holding the kids accountable for what they've done and get them back on track to being where they need to be. And like I said, labeling kids is not an option, but getting them the help they need is necessary, but also not have them continuing the same behavior. Because we've had time and time again where they've just reached their limit of where we had them on the alternative site. They go right back to campus and they're right back at the alternative site the next week because they've done the same action that they did to get them there. That is something that we have to address as a school system to, one, take the hindrance off of the school having to deal with that issue, and to, one, help the kid who's causing the issue. Like, help them get the tools they need and make that transition better. So as long as these do those things, I'm happy with it, as long as it helps kids.
To finish my thought, so jumped in before I finished.
Sorry.
So if the DRC it's going to be like the committee there, and then the administrators from the school, then will they still have the option to have a discipline review committee with us as well?
Yeah, that's policy, that they have an opportunity to have an appeal with the board if they so choose to do that. But I do anticipate that you will have less appeals because a lot of the parents will you know, if they know that they have a choice of options, then I think you're going to have, you know, an option to, you won't have as many, unless they just think their child's totally innocent. You know, a lot of times
Got a
what
few of
we've
those.
heard
I
at
think
the
that was,
thing.
that was the biggest concern from the board, that we were getting appeals when there was a blatant video of what happened, and there should have not been an appeal. I mean, if you're on video waylaying the tar out of somebody, how can you say that my kid didn't do that and just come say, when we could see it? That's our concern. We
A lot
just
of
felt
times.
like it was just a lot of time consuming
And maybe our appeals
when
process
it's
needs
was
to be
blatant, you know,
edited.
issue.
A lot of times the parent hadn't seen the video.
Well, maybe they need to see it.
That's what I'm saying, maybe that appeal process and the DRC process can incorporate all those elements to make it where it does reduce that. Because, I mean, ultimately, that's the point.
But to wrap up my comment, thank you for, this is very thought-provoking. This has been a lot of work I can see has gone into this.
We've done a lot about it.
So I just wanted to say that, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and,
One last thing, Melissa.
uh-huh.
The question as to whether the alternative site will remain an on-site campus for
Yeah.
students.
Yeah, it's open. It's open, because you will have AE kids there. You know, that the parents choose that option, or we move them to that option because they're not successful in their other choices. So yes, it's open. I got an email from a student that was at the AE site, and he wanted to know what he was supposed to do in August because the site was closing. And I replied back and said, the site is not closing. We'll see you in August. Yeah.
But also, Silly, I'd like to just, I mean, we're talking about the AE students coming in, but our virtual students will be coming there too for tutoring that they need also.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, you may have some AE students there, but you're also gonna be mixing them with virtual students that come for the tutoring or lesson demand.
So, Ms. Staley, our students that's already assigned to the AE, will those parents have an option, or
Yeah.
will they automatically have to go back to?
So our case managers, they actually report, like earlier than school starts. So they'll be making contact with those families and talking with them. They can do it over the phone, they can talk to them, or they can meet them in person. But they'll be doing all that before even the first day of school
Okay.
to
'Cause
figure out what
Yeah.
they want to do.
Because I know that I have some parents that's been calling me that's still waiting to come before the RC.
Waiting to do what?
So waiting,
For an appeal?
waiting for an appeal, yes.
Oh, you mean before the
Yeah,
board?
before the board, yes.
Well, we still have to do that.
But
Well,
Commissioner Jenko's, thanks
but
you,
if
Lord.
you're gonna give the parents an option, then at that point, those,
Yeah, if they're looking for like a virtual option, yeah, but if they're looking to try to wipe it away completely, they still gotta go through the appeal process.
What she's saying, I think, is that
Yeah.
they're still gonna have to wait on us to do the appeal.
right.
But Mr. Jenko's look on his face says he doesn't know of anybody that's on the list for an appeal.
I have the name, look, it's in my phone, I got right here. Yeah,
We thought we were caught up on that.
no, you're not.
Well, anyway,
Melissa, how do we establish who will be the case managers? Are they already in place? Are they employees?
yes, they were at the alternative site before. So there are about 10 employees that will be utilized in the enhanced model of this. Mr. Jenko will be meeting with them, I think, starting next week. We wanted to update the board on it. We want to do the second Saturday breakfast thing because they've asked us to come. We want to do those two things before we start meeting with individuals, the 10 individuals.
All right. Do you have any other updates, Melissa or Ms. Staley?
The only other thing I wanted to say was the test scores, were released, and I want to just let parents know that if they go to J Campus Parent Command Center, they can actually see their child's LEAP test results in there. I'm sure the schools will be disseminating those, but they can see them right now in the parent command portal.
Excellent. All right. We're going to move to item 6, which is board acknowledgement. Now, because it's after 8:30, everybody's limited to 15 seconds. All right, Mr. Piazza, you want to start us off?
Look, I talked a lot tonight. I just want to say one thing. Congratulations to the administrative team for the model schools. That wasn't mentioned tonight. I know we got our certificates here, but the real rock stars were the people in the room. Ms. Stilley, her team, Dr. Fusel did a great job on her and Ms. Chastity did a wonderful job in their presentation. And not only did we have those A-listers on the team, we had some of our principals, some of our administrative staff. It was an amazing time to see y'all shine. Y'all put on a heck of a show. So I just wanted to give y'all's recognition y'all deserve. Mr. Jenko and his family were there. It was a great time to see the talent really put on to display at a very big event like Model School. So I want to give y'all's props. Y'all did a great job in those presentations, and I couldn't have been more proud to represent this parish when y'all did it. Other than that, guys, look, there's rough roads ahead for us with the MFP. I have full faith in this board to come up, and this administration, to come up with some great options to try to help our students to get through these rough times. But other than that, it's a great place to be in Tangipahoa.
All right, Mr. Moore?
I will piggyback on congratulating the administration and representation at the Model Schools Conference. Melissa, I appreciate you finally addressing this, and I'm looking forward to the community hearing. You know, exactly, I think it's going to create a sense of calm, and I'm hoping, I know that there are going to be some questions, there's going to be lots. And I have every confidence that you guys are going to be able to provide answers for those. But other than that,
All right. Thank you. Mr. Dominguez?
Basically the same thing. I'll say the same thing. The only thing is, I did want to say earlier, you'd mentioned that the principals and, you know, your students and parents, whatever, weighed in, but I do know that your staff, and hopefully they're digging into the people who are working with this, like, you know, our discipline office staff as well, you know, the ones that really deal with the issue. Keep them in the loop, you know, for suggestions.
There you go. All right. Ms. Richards, anything for you?
No, I'm not.
You good? You sure?
I'm good.
All right. Mr. Toller?
One thing, I didn't hear anything about the back-to-school bashes. You know, if we are expecting participation, we need to start rallying that up pretty soon. But I'm hoping there's a typo, because what I'm seeing in the email was a July 18th.
Sunday morning.
A Sunday morning from 9 to 12 at Kentwood.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that are just non-negotiable, and church on Sunday is non-negotiable, so I'm hoping that we haven't scheduled something from 9 to 12 on a Sunday morning. So if that's a typo, I hope that we get that fixed before we publish any more of that, because participation is going to be low on the weekend as is, but participation on a Sunday morning is going to be extremely, extremely low, unless you come to church, and y'all are welcome to.
All right. Mr. Westmoreland? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know the 31st on West Side.
Friday.
West Side Monastery.
Some of them said Saturday.
The dates, I mean, the dates in the email wrong, or is that?
What email?
We got calendar invites today.
We got email from you.
Calendar invites, that really, Amanda. Calendar invites had
That's me.
Saturdays and Sundays, yeah, that's what they were.
That's me. Let me see.
Yeah, the invites are for, Sumner was the 17th on a Saturday,
There
and
was one
There
this
is one on
Saturday.
Saturday, but that's not Crime Stoppers, that's the city of Kentwood. Crime Stoppers is just,
Yeah.
advertising.
okay, well, maybe we can get that cleared up. I'm glad that's a mistake. Thank y'all.
I can check.
Oh, I did, Trent, I did want to, qualifying for, you know, the elections is coming up, not July, but August. I think our website still says July, so, Ms. Dina, we
I
get.
saw that in the email today as well.
The
August 5th.
qualifying for the,
Yes,
it-
got that message?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
August
yeah.
5th, 6th, and 7th.
adjusted
This
for
qualification.
August, yeah.
Legislature changed it or something?
Yes, because of the Congress got pushed back, they pushed the qualification date back. All right.
No need to remind anybody else, because I'm just kidding. Are you good? All right, Ms. Stilley, anything additional from you?
Oh,
The only thing I just wanted to mention, y'all were talking about the conference, and Dr. Fussell is going to she's going to represent us at the Southern Region School Board
in Hot Springs.
conference
Okay.
in Hot Springs, and she's doing a presentation on once and about those, like the awesome results we've had, 40-something% proficient. So yeah, she's gonna do a presentation there. I have to go, I was gonna do it, but I have to be out of town with my granddaughter for something, so, she's gonna go do that. And then the once, people are gonna co-present with her and talk about the program specific. She's just gonna talk about our results. Because everybody's trying to solve this problem about reading. So if we can help another district, that'd be great.
Totally agree. All right, and I'm not going to bore anybody else with anything else, but,
One last
oh, yeah.
question.
No, me.
Melissa, can I get a copy of the presentation?
Yeah,
Because
Amanda can
I couldn't open it up.
Oh, really?
It kept telling me that I
I had to
needed.
request access as well.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah.
Yeah, but I shared it with y'all.
Once I requested access, I got another email right back that allowed me to open it.
Amanda.
So could we just get a
Laura
copy
want a
of it
copy
emailed to us?
Of the,
Yes. Amanda can
copy of the
download it.
flyer.
Amanda?
Did you hear that, Amanda? I don't know if
because he
you
couldn't open it.
A copy of the presentation, they want an email copy. Sure. Tomorrow.
I couldn't open it up.
I know more than one person was talking to you simultaneously. So.
Gotcha.
But we don't have any public input, as far as I know.
I've not received any, no, sir.
Okay, but no one, public input, we can adjourn. Thank y'all.